All right, good evening, everyone. All right, welcome residents of Throgs Neck, Morris Park. Let's hear it. Pelham Parkway, Pelham Bay, City Island, and of course, Country Club. Thank you for coming out tonight. All right, so let's start off. I'd like to bring in our facilitator and host this evening, Councilmember Jimmy Vaca. And next up, let's invite your mayor, Bill de Blasio. Very good. So before we start, I'd like to invite Jewel Allen from PS 72 to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jewel, here you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jewel. All right, so before we hear from some of our elected leaders, I'd like to give a thank you to some of our co-sponsors. First off, the Morris Park Community Association. Yeah. The City Island Civic Association. The Westchester Square Bid. The Throgs Neck Homeowner Association. And the Theodore Caroni American Legion Post. And also, I'd like to thank Anthony Orzo from Villa Barone for hosting us this evening. Thank you, Anthony. So first up, I'd like to invite up your State Senator, Jeff Klein, to give some brief remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the mayor, Jimmy Vaca. How's everyone doing tonight? Come on, this is the Bronx. You got to do better. How's everyone doing tonight? Well, when I look around this room, I truly know each and every one of you, and I really want to say thank you, because these are the Civic Association leaders. These are people who are active in our communities. You are the eyes and ears of our communities, and when we're doing our respective jobs, be it at City Hall or Albany, you're here telling us no, letting us know what we need to do. So I thank you all for coming, and give yourselves another hand, everyone. Well, it's great to have our Mayor de Blasio here this evening, and I want to tell you, through his tenure so far, I've had the privilege of doing some really great things with our mayor. When our mayor actually had his vision of universal pre-K, making sure that 4-year-olds get a quality education so they can move on to great things. I'm very proud that I played a role in helping the mayor achieve universal pre-K, 4-year-old education for everyone, an outstanding program, $300 million a year, every year for the next 5 years, and I think we have to thank the mayor for that. You know, more recently, we got together and made sure that our young people are safe at daycare, and I had the privilege of working with the New York City Health Commissioner after I did an investigation that showed that the daycare centers where we send our young ones, unbeknownst to anyone, are racking up violation after violation. You know, if we want to truly give parents peace of mind that when they send their young people to daycare, they should receive adequate daycare. So I'm very proud to report that we're able to work out legislation with Mayor de Blasio. Right now, when you go to a daycare, you'll be able to see a grade. Just as we grade restaurants, we're now going to be able to grade these daycare centers. So families will know how safe or unsafe these daycares are. I think it's going to go a long way towards making sure people have peace of mind and our young people are well taken care of. So again, I want to thank the mayor for coming out tonight. I'm glad everyone is here. He's here to listen to us, understand the issues that impact us, making sure that we keep our quality of life in our respective neighborhoods, that our neighborhoods can not only flourish, but also maintain what we so deserve, making sure that our senior citizens can live out their golden years in comfort and dignity, making sure that we're proud to raise a family in our communities. So thank you all, and I'm sure you're not going to be shy about making comments. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Klein. Next up, I'd like to invite your DA, Darcel Clark.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Thacker. Hello, everyone. Of course, I'm no stranger to this part of the world. I think I've been to every civic organization or they're on my schedule. So it's great to be here. I just like to say it's great to be a partner with all of you in the community to make the place where we live and work safe. And so in partnership with the New York City Police Department, all these commanders here, okay? Great working with all of them. Captain Walton, Captain Ray, Chief McCunin, who called me Monday night, 3 o'clock in the morning. We stay in contact. Also members of the clergy, the BID, Lisa, how are you all? It's just great, and just know that I'm just dedicated to doing whatever I have to do to continue to make the Bronx safe for all of you. And I have to commend the mayor, because as you know, I had a big ask of the city council and the mayor in order to transform the Bronx District Attorney's office, and this mayor made sure I got the money that I needed, so that we needed to change the Bronx, all right? So it's a good time in the Bronx DA's office. I spent all day today interviewing people. One of the things, Mr. Mayor, you're helping is to create jobs in the Bronx, because the Bronx DA's office is now going to be hiring more and more people to get the job done. So check our website if you're looking for employment, all kinds of jobs available, and it's just great to be here. Of course, Councilman Thacker and Senator Klein, great partners in government. Letitia James, our public advocate, always been a friend. You know, it's just a great time in the Bronx. So I welcome you all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I look forward to your remarks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. So next up, I'd like to, well, first of all, acknowledge the Throgs Neck Resident Council, who I think I left off the co-sponsor list. All right, I heard back there. There you go. Thank you. And now your public advocate, Tish James.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Bronx. How are you? So thank you for welcoming me. I come from a very far away place called Brooklyn. So please don't hold that against me. So thank you. My visa is stamped for about 2 or 3 hours, and then I'll be out, okay? But I do serve the entire city of New York, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And of course, to Senator Klein and to Councilmember Jimmy Vaca, who has done a fabulous, phenomenal job. I love him dearly. He speaks truth to power. He's an amazing elected official. And of course, to the mayor of the city of New York, Mayor de Blasio, who I have the honor and privilege to work with on a wide range of issues. My job as public advocate of the city of New York is to provide oversight over city agencies. I provide oversight over the mayor of the city of New York and all of the agencies in the city of New York, right? Now, I am here to hear from all of you, because our job is to present our petitions and our grievances to government so that we can get things right. And that may include issues such as road modifications, making sure that we get that right, making sure that we address issues such as Hart Island. I know a number of you have reached out to my office in regards to Hart Island. There's a number of issues with respect to graffiti and some car break-ins. We've heard from all of you in the city of New York, because my office is there to serve all of you. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming out here today. Thank you for taking democracy serious. Thank you for recognizing that democracy is not a spectator sport. And also to your Chief McCuin. I've been to these town hall meetings in all 5 boroughs. But never have I seen a chief who has brought so much homework to a town hall meeting. It's absolutely amazing. He knows the statistics on all of your neighborhoods, on all of your precincts. The reason why you are enjoying safety and record low crime is because of this great man. God bless you and thank you, and enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Public Advocate James. And now I'd like to bring up your council member who's been fighting for this community for many years, Jimmy Vaca.
Thank you. This is a great crowd on an August night, but I represent that kind of a district. I've been honored to represent you now in the council for more than 10 years, and before that, 26 years as district manager of the community board. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of all of you. And Mr. Mayor, I welcome you to my district. I call it my district. I'm very possessive. I live here. I breathe every day here. The job and the passion. You have the roughest job, second roughest job in the country. Mayor Lindsay said that. I'm dating myself. But Mayor Lindsay said that the toughest job was President of the United States. And the second job is, toughest job is Mayor of New York. I'm proud to represent people who I call friends and neighbors. We are a very diverse district. I don't know if any of you know how far this district goes. We go from the Bronx-Queens border to the Bronx-Westchester County border. We take in City Island, and then we come all the way back to Ferry Point, and then we go all the way to Allenton Avenue. It's a gigantic district. We are traversed by highways and a beautiful waterfront. And Mr. Mayor, we are home to the largest park in the city of New York, Pelham Bay Park. I represent 1- and 2-family homeowners. I represent renters. I represent seniors. I represent people who live in NYCHA developments. I represent people who are doing okay, struggling, and I represent people who are downright poor. And I have my office working on cases every day so that we can share a little bit and help those in need. So this is the type of community we are, but we're a strong and we're an active community. We're very vocal. Many of us have many, many different opinions on many issues, and you're going to hear that tonight. I do tell the mayor, which I think he knows, that not only are we great, but I want the mayor to not forget what I remember, and that is, I remember a mayor who was not mayor, who came here when he was public advocate, and he joined me on cleaning up in Locust Point after Hurricane Sandy. And I remember that. I remember it well. He was public advocate, called me up, Jimmy, what can I do? So I said, we're having a beach cleanup. The Locust Point beach was leveled, and he came. We had a problem during the previous administration was when Bill, mayor, was a public advocate, with people getting tickets, merchants getting tickets constantly for every small infraction. It was ridiculous, it was harassment. And we convened a meeting here, which Bill led as public advocate, and we fought back because merchants were being victimized and being taken advantage of, and we had a meeting right here in Villa Barone Manor that public advocate then Bill de Blasio convened. And I will tell you a final story, which many of you don't know, that in 2005, when I ran for the New York City Council for the first time, Bill was only a councilman in Brooklyn, and I was running for the city council. So Bill calls me up, and Bill says, I want to come help you, Jimmy. How can I help you? So I said, he's a councilman from Brooklyn. I don't know what he's going to do to help me. Who knows him over here? Maybe if you knew somebody in Pelham Parkway, you knew somebody in Throgs Neck. I don't know who. So he says, no, I want to spend a day with you campaigning. So I said, well, I'm going door to door tonight at 2816 Roebling Avenue. That's an apartment building right in Waterbury, LaSalle. So I said, well, I'm going to go campaigning door to door. Do you want to come? He says, yeah. Jimmy, I can give you a while. Do you mind? I says, no, whatever time you have. So he comes. I thought we finished. Bill had to go to the next stop. Guess what happens? Get stuck in the elevator. And it was hot. It was hot. Trust me, it was August. And I'm looking around, and he says, Jimmy, have these tenants approached you? I says, yes, I know. We have issues here. I've gotten this guy violations before. So my point is that this community is not new to the mayor. He does know it. We have many issues, Mr. Mayor. I always say, foremost of all the issues I handle is public safety. If we do not have safety in the streets, and if we do not feel secure in our homes, then everything else falls down around us. And I will tell you something. I've always been blessed, but I'm particularly blessed now to have Inspector Rhea and to have Captain Walton at the 4-5 and the 4-9 precinct. I think that they do a great job. The ladies and gentlemen who work in those precincts are out there fighting for us, protecting us, directing us. We don't say thank you enough, and they have excellent leadership. The chief is here, the borough commander, Niger Police. We count on all of them, and I have to say, never have I ever called and been denied assistance. Never have I ever called and been told, Jimmy, can't do. They try to do, and they're out there for you. And I can't thank them enough because public safety is very important. So, Mr. Mayor, I've been told that next I'm to be quiet and introduce you, Mr. Mayor, right?
No one would tell you to be quiet.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. I do want to introduce our sponsors. Some of our sponsor presidents are here, and if the presidents are here, I'd like them to say a couple of words. Would you want me to put the mayor on first? Just direct me. Would the mayor want to talk first? Bill, you want me to introduce the sponsors for a couple of quick words?
Sponsors first.
Sponsors first. We have presidents of the sponsoring groups, and if the presidents are here, I'd like to recognize them. I know we have the head of the Westchester Square bid, Lisa Soren, and Westchester Square is an integral part. Lisa, I do want to say that I'm looking for questions from everyone. We all talk. Of all people, I should talk. But we all talk, but I'd like to get to questions because let me tell you something. I'm around a long time. Having the mayor of the city of New York here for any finite period of time means that you get as much as you can out of the mayor. And I want to get as many issues. When he first took office, I want you to know I was on the phone with him, and I was on the phone with Commissioner Polly Trottenberg of DOT, and I said, we gotta get rid of the design of that monstrosity City Island Bridge. He and Polly Trottenberg got rid of that monstrous design at the City Island Bridge and Commissioner Trottenberg. So when you have the mayor, make sure you ask as much as you can.
I'm going to stop you for a second,
Yes.
if I may.
Yes.
If the sponsors are going to ask questions,
Yes.
then I'd rather go first and say some opening.
Oh, yes.
So if
Of
the
course.
sponsors will yield back to me,
Yes.
because I just like to frame for a couple of minutes and then go from there. So first of all, everyone, I want to thank everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. Yes, it is an August night. This is the truest example of caring about your community, to be here, giving of yourself because you want to get things done. So I want to thank you for that. And I have to tell you, I'm going to exhibit now personal opinion, a personal bias. I love Villa Barone, okay? I love this place. I've been here a lot of times. And I remember very fondly the meeting we had when we talked about what was happening to small businesses. And what happened here was one of the most troubling examples of, I remember this story like it was yesterday, but it must have been 5 years ago or 6 years ago, that in the middle of a wedding, health department inspectors came in to do a normal inspection, not anything urgent, not anything horrible, but they just thought it was okay to disrupt a wedding to make a point, apparently. And I heard that and I thought, that's the last thing government should be doing to people. You know, we respect the health department, we respect sanitation, all the agencies have to take care of us, but we also expect some understanding of our lives and respect for our businesses, respect for what matters to us. There's a way to strike a balance. So Jimmy was a tremendous ally in that fight, and it was all about fairness. We didn't want to see the city government giving out fines for no reason. I used to say back then, giving fines first, asking questions later, instead of trying to fix the problem, giving people a chance to fix it. We didn't want to see store owners and community members treated arbitrarily. We wanted them treated with respect. Jimmy and I worked together, and I'm very proud to say in this administration, those fines by the Health Department, Consumer Affairs, have gone down, and we're respecting those store owners and those homeowners much, much more, and we got more work to do. But I say that to say, a lot of that conversation started right here at the Villa Barone, and I remember it and I appreciate it. I want to say a few things quickly. Jimmy, I want you to know, I think you know because he has been a fixture in your lives in the best sense. But I also had the honor of serving with him in the city council and since. And it's a joy. It is a joy because he is so 110% engaged in supporting the people of his community. And there is no matter too big or too small for him to pay attention to and get some results on. And boy, on the bridge, as he mentioned, there should be a law. Yeah, there should be a law. There should be a number of phone calls limit, Jimmy. But Jimmy was, he was relentless, and he said, we've got to get this done, we've got to get this done, we've got to get this done, and lo and behold, because of Jimmy Vaca, it got done. Let's thank him for everything he does. Our elected officials, I want to thank them all in the order in which they spoke. Jeff Klein, I've said it at the time, I want to thank you again. Number one thing I came here to do was pre-K for all kids. Could not have done it without Jeff Klein. And thank you for standing up for us in Albany. Thank you so much. Darcel Clark, she also drives a hard bargain. She definitely came in with quite a list. I'm like, Darcel, is it Christmas in June suddenly? But it was a righteous list because she said there's a lot of change that has to happen in the Bronx. And there's opportunities to make this borough safer that have not yet been fully realized. So she came in with a really righteous request and a spirit of reform and an energy, so I was only too happy to help her out. I think you have a district attorney who's going to make a very big difference. Let's thank her for all she does. Tish James likes to look over my shoulder, tell me when I don't do things right, but that's a good thing. I used to do it when I was public advocate, so it's exactly right. Tish looks out for people all over the city, keeps a close eye to make sure agencies are serving people, and her office also does tremendously good work serving individual constituents who haven't gotten what they should have from city agencies. So the public advocate job really is such a valuable place looking out for the people's interests, and she does that with great energy. Let's thank Tish James. And our youngest special guest, Jewel, thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance. You did a great job. Okay, now I'm going to go quick here, and then I look forward to hearing your questions, your concerns. Over here are the many, many commissioners, some of the most important agencies in city government. This group of people right here has a huge impact on your lives. Some of them are better known, some of them less known, but I can tell you, collected in one room are the people who have a huge impact on the quality of your life, your family's lives. They're a very dedicated group of human beings. I've gotten to know so many of them very well, and they work very hard on your behalf. I want to say a special thank you because I had the honor of getting a real in-depth briefing from all the NYPD leadership here, and they're doing amazing work in this community. Let's especially thank the NYPD leadership. They're here. But I want to tell you about this dedicated group of public servants. They are so dedicated that when they come to a town hall meeting, they don't want to leave, okay? They want to talk to you. So we'll talk for the next few hours. You'll raise a whole bunch of issues. I'll do my best to answer. I'll turn to them sometimes. But then at the end, you can go up to them with any concern you have. And they're here for that. They are so devoted to public service, they will be here all night if you want them to be. Do you have any place else to go? No. Look, they have no place else to go except to serve you. And again, a group of people makes me very, very proud to be in public service. Let's thank all of them for the work they do. I'm going to run through some things very quickly, very, very quickly, but I think it's important to let you hear this. There's always challenges in New York City, in the borough of the Bronx, in the communities represented here. There's always challenges. There's also a lot of things that we can be proud of as New Yorkers, things we are doing right, that we should all talk about with pride because everyone has something to do with it. We have the biggest population we've ever had in the history of New York City. Now that comes with some problems, for sure. Biggest population in the history of New York City means something good is happening here. People want to be here. Highest property values we've ever had. Double-edged sword. I'm a homeowner myself. There's a lot of good in high property values. There's a lot of challenge, but it says something is working. We have the most jobs we've ever had in the history of New York City. 4.3 million jobs in all of New York City. By the way, those jobs are growing more and more, not in Manhattan, but in the Bronx, in Queens, in Brooklyn, and Staten Island, which is the vision that we brought to this office, a 5-borough economy, a 5-borough government, not dominated by one borough, but a government for everyone. And this economy is growing. There are challenges, but it's growing. So those are some very important things. But Jimmy said it best. The thing that's on all our minds, every one of us, is safety for ourselves, our children, our family, our neighbors. That's where it begins. Everything else stems from there. And this is what's amazing. The NYPD, over now almost 25 years, has been driving down crime every single year. And the last 3 years, they have continued. I've been totally honored to be a part of this with them. They have continued steady decreases in crime. We had announcement of where we stood as of the end of July, and shootings keep going down all over the city. Gun seizures keep going up. The things we care about the most. There's much more work to do. There's much more work to do. When I say that, I'm not saying for a moment there aren't challenges. I'm saying something is working in a very big way. And I'm proud of everyone at the NYPD. I'm proud of all the men and women who serve us. It is a moment where we take stock also, because we're next month going to have a change of leadership. And we owe a debt of gratitude in this city to Bill Bratton. And if you see him, please, I say, stop him and just say thank you, because he deserves it. But we also have something that most cities could probably not believe or imagine, which is there's such depth of leadership in the NYPD. When Bill Bratton told me that the moment had come because of what his family needed, he and I talked. We didn't for a moment think about needing to look around the country. We knew we had all the talent in the world inside the NYPD. And Jimmy O'Neill, who spent a lot of his career here in the Bronx, and he's very, very proud of that fact. Jimmy O'Neill is going to be an outstanding police commissioner. Outstanding. He spent 33 years on the force. And 33 years on the force, rose to the highest uniform rank, chief of department. It's the first time in decades a chief of department has been elevated to commissioner. And you'll see why, because he knows the place inside out. He is the architect of this neighborhood policing approach that everyone's going to feel over time. It is what a lot of us knew growing up, the cop on the beat, the cop who got to know you and your family, who could tell you when, especially young people, when they needed to do something different, who could tell the parents what was going on. But that whole idea that we all lived and knew worked, plus a lot more technology, a lot more training, a lot more that makes them even better. I'm very, very excited about where this is going to go. Now, let me tell you what these good people here have achieved, because it's amazing. Just listen to these numbers. In the 4-5 precinct, overall crime this year from last year is down over 7%. Robberies down over 9%. Burglary down 20%. Grand larceny down over 10%. They did a focused effort to get at guns. Last year, they took 6 guns off the street. This year, they took 23 guns off the street. Just incredible progress. The 4-9 precinct, homicide down 33%, robberies down 2%, auto thefts down 20%, shootings down 16% this year compared to last year. They did a gun buyback event August 6th. They got 165 weapons. Isn't that amazing? So that's the issue that people think about first. The issue that people think about right on the heels of safety, and the one I actually hear the most passion about, is affordable housing. Because all over the city, people are worried about being able to stay in the neighborhood they love. And we have the biggest affordable housing initiative in the history of New York City. A lot of different pieces to it we can talk about in the course of this evening, but the one I want to focus you on, we're very proud of this, is we have increased by 10 times the amount of money for free legal services for any New Yorker who's being harassed by a landlord or forced out of their apartment and evicted illegally. And as we have done that, evictions are going down. We've seen a 24% decrease in evictions, meaning a lot of people who would have ended up even potentially homeless now are getting to stay in their apartments. In this district alone, just since October, 85 households, that's over 250 people, were saved from eviction. Now, all right, the next issue, I'm going to just run through them very, very quick, just a few more. Next issue, I hear a lot about it, particularly in districts where people are very reliant on their cars. People care about the quality of the roads. And nothing is more immediate and more personal in your life than if you hit that pothole that messes up your car or causes an accident. So we devoted ourselves to a huge repaving effort. We're also filling an unprecedented number of potholes, but we also believe go to the core of the problem, repave the road. If you can do it, if you can afford it, repave the road. Polly Trottenberg and the team at DOT has done an amazing job in this district. Listen to this. 24 lane miles already have been resurfaced in this district, including parts of the Bruckner Boulevard northbound service road. So 24 lane miles. Think of the distance, 24 miles of repaving just in the last year. By next summer, they will resurface 34 lane miles of roads, including Eastchester Road and the Hutchison Parkway Service Road. And, since you mentioned the bridge, the new bridge will be, to City Island, will be complete by the year's end. Is that right, Polly? The year's end, this year's end, all right. There you go. She's proud of that. We've heard, and look, when we do these things, when we try and make the improvements, there's always concerns. I've heard real concerns about Pelham Parkway and the reconstruction going on there, so I just want to let you know a couple things. Some folks have talked about Paulding Avenue. So it's an unmapped road that connects into the parkway. There was a concern that that road was going to be erased and turned into green space. We heard the concerns of community residents, so I'm here to announce that we're going to keep that road so people can use it. We know there's a concern about parking, and we're going to do more to minimize the loss of parking spaces as a result of the work on the parkway, because we understand how much that means to people. We've heard there is an old elm tree people would like to see saved. I cannot guarantee it yet. We're doing everything we know how to do. I am hopeful. But the goal now is to save that elm tree and work around it to the best of our ability. So we've heard those concerns. A tree grows in the Bronx. Very good, Tish James. Bringing your Brooklyn history with you. And one more thing that's in the vein of our streets, our roads, the way our communities look. When you came in, you may have seen the graffiti truck, the anti-graffiti truck out there. We are pouring money into fighting graffiti. We've greatly increased the amount of funding to fight graffiti. So if you know of any place with a graffiti problem, on your way out tonight, literally stop by the folks at the truck and let them know, because we have the resources now. We've had the way to do it. We didn't have enough money. Now we've put the money into fighting graffiti. We can clean up a lot more places in this community. So please let us know where you need it. I'm going to just finish out by saying we've got some other things I'm very proud of. We talked about pre-K. We got 2,100 kids in pre-K now, full-day pre-K in District 8. We've got 1,900 kids in full-day pre-K in District 11. A lot of things are happening that will really improve the quality of life for a family that gets free pre-K, which if you had to pay for it is $10,000, even in some places $15,000 if you have multiple kids. It's a crushing burden. It's now something people can depend on. It's going to lift a burden from working families, but also will do so much to prepare that child for the future. So these are the kinds of things we're devoted to doing that will make a difference in people's lives. Finally, I want to note, got a lot of different things I could talk about, but we've got so much we need to talk about tonight. I want to note something that's important. I think there's a lot of homeowners in the room. I am a homeowner in Brooklyn, and there's been real concern over years and years about our water bills. and the impact the water bills make. And as Bill Clinton once said, I feel your pain because I get a water bill too. and what I was able to determine when I was public advocate, we did a lot of research on this, was that people were paying not just for water in the water bill. For years and years, there was a hidden tax in the water bill. You weren't told, if you looked at the water bill, you didn't see the line that said hidden tax. Okay, they just slipped it in. And it went to other things in the city. So I said, well, what's it going to take to actually have the water bill reflect just water? And we've been working on that in the last few years, and we announced a few months ago that starting this summer, the water bills would no longer be for anything but water. Now, water costs a lot. I'm not here to tell you everything's going to be perfect and wonderful and cheap. Water costs money. And keeping up the best water system of any city in the country costs money. But at least we were able to get to the point we said there will no longer be anything skimmed off the top. And in fact, we were going to give money back to homeowners because we were changing the policy. So we had a plan that every homeowner would get $183 credit this summer. You need to know that someone stopped that from happening. They haven't stopped it forever. They took us to court. They sued us. The Rent Stabilization Association, which is the organization that represents a lot of big landlords, and they were not happy to see that money go back to homeowners. And we believe the only fair way to do it, and the only way we could actually get money into the hands of the people who did the paying, was to give it to homeowners. So they're literally suing us to stop us from giving you a rebate. I hope you will certainly keep you posted. You can sign up on your way out if you find this a distasteful situation that someone is stopping you from getting your rebate. Sign up. We will give you information about how this court case is proceeding and how you can make your voices heard, because this one really bugs me. The government finally wants to give people money back and someone sues us to stop us from doing it. Help us to win this, because you deserve that rebate and you deserve to have water bills that are only for water. With that, I want to thank everyone. I look forward to hearing from the sponsors and then everyone else. I look forward to your questions and your concerns, and I hope we can get a lot done tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor indicated, we'd like to have some of our sponsors start off with the questions. I want to introduce Lisa Soren, chair of the, or executive director rather, of the Westchester Square Bid.
Thank you. The Westchester Square Business Improvement District is proud to be a co-sponsor of this event and to welcome Mayor Bill de Blasio to District 13 in our great borough. As a public-private partnership organization, the bid is a shining example of how private citizens can join together to revitalize our communities and to inject a positive influence on the neighborhoods we call home. We encourage others in the community, and especially the community leaders and elected officials gathered here this evening, to look toward the future to this area with a positive mindset, one that recognizes the concerns of the area stakeholders and injects those concerns into positive plans for the growth and future of our communities. Standing together, we have the opportunity to speak with a voice that is louder and stronger than any individual opinion. We have the opportunity to plan with the input of many, and we have the benefit of combining the innovation with experience to forge in a new direction that can benefit our children and those who will come after us to make this their home. That being said, my question this evening is about policing, which is something you have been addressing. In the past year, our community has seen an uptick in quality of life crimes, vagrancies, panhandling, drug dealing. This has been exacerbated by the wholesale dumping of mentally ill patients from the Bronx State Hospital onto the streets of the area and corresponding increase in homelessness persons settling in our parks and other public places. Despite the exceptional work of our officers, police resources here have not been increased to meet the needs of these issues, and an opinion in evolving that hands-off approach has taken hold over our concerns of behavioral oversight. What steps is the administration taking to provide more resources to the NYPD for this area and to overcome the lack of enforcement in these issues? Thank you.
Thank you, and I thank you for the... I thank you for the question and concern. Now, I respect greatly people who are involved in the community. But in a democracy, we get to say things like I'm about to say. I don't accept the premise of your question on several levels. I know it's heartfelt. I know it's got some facts in it, and there's other things I want to dispute. NYPD has been very, very vigorous on these issues. And there's no hands-off approach. I don't want anyone to have that illusion. I want to differentiate where we can put hands on and where we can't by the law. But anytime there are things that violate the law, and anytime there's violence or any aggressive efforts against people, that's where the NYPD intervenes very forcefully. For decades in the city, decades going back certainly through the last 3 or 4 mayoral administrations, there were encampments. There were literally like Hoovervilles back in the day. There were places where people lived who were homeless day in, day out, and they were let be. With all due respect to Mayor Giuliani, there were encampments during Mayor Giuliani. There were encampments during Mayor Bloomberg. Well, guess what? When I came to office, I worked with many of the leaders at NYPD. I worked with our Social Services Commissioner, Steve Banks. We came to a very clear conclusion. We would not tolerate any encampments. And they were not humane. They were not any way to treat a human being, but they're also very bad for the communities around them. So we gave the NYPD the assignment to end all those encampments, but in a way that was humane. We wanted to make sure those folks weren't just going to go someplace else, but were actually going to get treatment, because we know the folks who live on the street, it's only a few thousand people in all of New York City, but they have often a mental health issue, substance abuse issue, or both. So our goal was not to move the problem from here to there to here to there, but to get people in and get them treatment. We have very conscientiously, after ending an encampment, NYPD goes back. And I want Chief to talk to you for a moment, and I want to just address the rest of the question about there was an encampment some months ago, and I want you to describe what NYPD did and then what you've done to follow up.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to serve the residents of the Bronx. I'm very fond of these 2 precincts. Thank you for the support that you provide the precincts and the police, the Bronx, and everyone here. I appreciate that. And yes, the public advocate and I do share a little Brooklyn roots from Fort Greene. So yes, it was a pleasure working with you there when I was a commander of the 8-8. And it is true that I did call Darcel Clark at 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday night. So we do talk. But yes, with regards to these homeless encampments, the city identified, the department with other agencies identified encampments and hotspots within these communities. And what we do, it's a multi-agency approach. One such encampment was Pelham Bay Park in the 45th Precinct. Back in May, under Inspector Rhea, together with her officers, sanitation, parks, homeless services, we go there and we try to offer them services. And we give them the opportunity to leave the encampment and provide residents and substance abuse help as well. Then we'll go in there and then we'll clean up the encampment. After the encampment is cleaned up, we will go back. We have a post-cleanup protocol that is led by the commander and her personnel. And they go and they check on this, and in the event that there's any activity of a reoccurrence of an encampment, they'll start the process all over again, and we'll continue to do that. As the mayor said, we are very vigorous in addressing quality of life issues. We don't let up on that because we understand those are very aggravating issues to people because they see these things every day. So we do a lot of quality of life enforcement. We also want to help people as well with regards to like a hotspot, say around the Pelham train station. I know transit has referred 45 people and taken them to homeless services. That's the transit district that covers the Pelham Bay Station.
Thank you very much, Chief. And let me just add, so thank you. Let's thank the Chief for everything he's doing. So making it as plain as possible, we will not tolerate encampments, period. And again, NYPD will go back and back. And what we find is once you've made clear you're not going to allow them to reassert, they don't reassert. But the second part of your question, I think, was about where folks are coming from. And you're right. People, by the way, this goes back to the 1970s where people were dumped out of mental hospitals all over the state, all over the country, and that's where homelessness really began. You didn't have homelessness in the 50s and 60s like this. It started with absolutely immoral dumping of people onto the streets without any help. Some of that still happens, as you indicated. We are trying to work with the state, and I know Senator Klein was here, we're going to work with him on this to help us, to get the state to not just drop people on the streets in New York City, but to work with us to figure out a way to get people someplace safe and appropriate that's not the streets. The state has not always helped us with that, but we're going to push for that. But in the meantime, Homestat, which is the initiative created under Commissioner Steve Banks, means any New Yorker who sees a homeless person can call and we will send a worker there who can address that situation and work to get that person off the street. We've gotten hundreds of people off the street already. We want to get them to treatment. We want to get them to permanent housing. We do not want them on the street. But if it's a quality of life offense or any kind of other breaking of the law, NYPD is ready to step in.
I'd now like to call upon the chairman of Community Board 10, one of our hosts, Chairman Martin Prince.
Good evening, Mayor de Blasio. I guess just like to say thank you for coming out again on this warm evening. And I'm sitting here, and I have to say, and I gotta say, you know, I have Board 10, which is somewhat encompasses Council District 13, but we do have Co-op City, and you did not mention us when you came on, so I would. Have to make sure I have to point that out.
I didn't mention the neighborhoods. Marco did, and he will pay for that.
Oh, all right. We'll blame that on Marco. But in that respect, then, I guess if I get a question, the question would be, you know, we got a lot of change coming in the Northeast here, particularly with the changes in the expectation of the Metro North Station coming over to Co-op City. But also, as everyone from all the other neighborhoods would tell you, our big problem is always parking. And I think the concerns for a lot of folks in Co-op City is that when you bring this station in, will you have facilities that can handle the influx of traffic that you're going to be looking to divert off of the roads, because there's nowhere for co-op folks to park, and you're going to be bringing in all the new business. So for me, it's just I would like to know that that's going to be looked at and studied, and a serious approach taken to it.
Yes, and I appreciate that question a lot. I think this is an example. First of all, I believe that Metro North Station is going to be great for the people of Co-op City and for the Bronx in general. But you're absolutely right. With every blessing comes some things you got to deal with. But it's true of all development, too. And I felt, and I think Jimmy shared this view a lot of times in the previous administration, that the development would happen without compensating for the fact that if you're going to bring in a lot of people, I see nodding from my colleague, we also served in the council, and if you're going to bring a lot of people, where's the school? Where's the parking? Where's the park? Where's all the things you need to go with it? So we have put a lot of money in the city budget to address development as it occurs and have the infrastructure. Now, you know the Metro North Station is a state project. We're going to certainly try and push the state to do their share of this. But you're absolutely right. If it's going to work, we have to figure out issues like parking. The city certainly has to play a role. We want it to work. We want it to be a good thing for the people of Co-op City. So the answer is yes, there will be a planning process. Polly, I don't know if you have any specifics you want to add, or jump in. Polly Trottenberg.
In addition to being City DOT Commissioner, I'm also on the MTA board. And look, I want to echo the mayor's comments. We're very excited, obviously, about the Metro North stations coming in here in the Bronx. We will be working closely with the MTA and making sure that they are working with the community. So as the stations come in, we can address all the impacts that are going to be there for sure.
Thank you.
Chairman Tony Vitaliano, Chairman of Community Board 11.
Thank you, Jimmy. Your Honor, thank you for being here. You took the steam right out of my question, by the way. Thanks a lot. First of all, it's Pelham Parkway North. That thing's been going, started in '85. We're still talking back and forth. And we had the board met with the DDC. There was a little lack of communications, but we like to see that thing get off the road, get it going. Let's get the shovels in the ground. That's what they say, right? But two things we asked. That paved street, which was there before Parks even was a department. It was in the 1890s. We asked that that street stay. One even better, the other day we were talking about it. Saint Teresa, Mother Teresa is going to be honored as a saint next month. We would like to rename that street Mother Teresa Lane. And we're on short notice over here. Good news is they're not taking it away from us. Now we got to get it mapped. And Jimmy, we got to come to you for the name. Hopefully we can do it before September. The next question, that tree is 200 years old plus, probably up to 250, which was here before this was a country, right? So I heard what you said, but I like to say, let's keep that tree there. Let's not touch it. Let's go for it. This tree's old, up to 250. It's a good tree, you know? I mean,
that's a quality tree.
That's it. We all should live that way. All right, but I want to say, thank you very much. I hope they get this project going, really.
Okay, so let me, first of all, thank you very much for the points you raised. I'm going to start, but if someone, Fenioski, or someone can speak to the timeline. I love the Mother Teresa idea. We got to figure out now how to do the formal mapping and all that, but I think it's a great, great idea. On the tree, you and I think very much alike. So I appreciate the experts, and I know they have very real considerations that they have to address in terms of engineering and safety and rules and laws. I don't think in those terms. I think about the tree, like you do, and the history. So I have said I want to find a way to save the tree. I'm giving them a chance to figure out that way. I have to be blunt with you. I never want to come to a meeting and promise something and then let someone down. If they say there's no way we can do the road right without dealing with the tree, I have to listen to that too. But I'd like to believe that knowing that so many people in the community care about the tree, knowing how much I care about the tree, knowing how much common sense says save the tree, that they're going to find a way to save the tree. So save the tree, everyone. So. Okay, Benioski, do you want to tell us about the timeline? Or do you have whoever's the most expert on the timeline? Who's got it? Okay, I'm going to give you a microphone. Our Commissioner for Design and Construction, Benioski Peñamora.
We are still in the design process of the project, and due to the fact that we have to incorporate some of the design features of the street and the tree, we hope that by the end of the year we will be finishing the design, putting out to bid next year and start construction early next year. Next year.
So construction would begin next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. You may. Follow-up question. We want as many people as possible get in, but since I care about this tree,
I'm going
to give them another chance.
Your Honor, I was told that tree had to be moved because of a bus shelter.
That's also in the mix, but the point is,
the
goal is save the tree, and to the timeline, construction would start next year. Okay. Hopefully with a tree untouched as part of the construction.
Okay.
I think.
And now I'm going to sign off, but before I sign off, I got to commend the NYPD, Chief McKean, Chief Wilcox, and special recognition to Captain Keith Walton over there.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you something. He's starting some programs with the kids in our area, and we totally support him. He's got the right idea. He suppresses crimes, plus he keeps the kids out of trouble. Thank you, Captain.
That's an endorsement. Very nice. Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
City Island Civic Association, Barbara Delensick.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. This is really terrific. We enjoy having you here. Come to City Island for dinner after. Anyway, the first thing is to thank you specifically, which we've not done in person, for having appointed this brilliant Commissioner of Transportation.
Brilliant.
She did.
Don't blush, Polly. Don't blush.
somehow she turned this very big ship in midstream and turned around, and now we don't have a Bloomberg Bridge, but we have a City Island Bridge, which I think is really terrific. But thank you for your role in this. It was very much appreciated. There's one issue, which is another very long time issue, even older, going back probably about 25 years, which is Rodman's Neck was originally, as a firing range, was originally designed as a temporary thing. It has never been upgraded. And one of the real problems that affects the community around, we love having the police there. This is not the issue. We don't love having the bomb squad there, but we understand that this is a problem, and we very much appreciate OEM for now sending out notices ahead of time that it's going, so I can explain to my dogs, you know, it's going to happen soon. But the Rodman's Neck noise has increased. I've lived on the west side of City Island for about 40 years now, and the noise has increased terribly. I have an envelope full of letters from mayors, starting with Mayor Dinkins, saying we're going to put sound abatement in next year. And this has been going on ever since. And so I would like to ask you to please put money back into the budget so that Rodman's Neck itself can be upgraded, so that the facilities there can be made first rate. They are not now. I've been over there. It's a mess. But the noise is something that affects not just City Island and not just me, but the community all around Eastchester Bay. Villa Maria school children can hear it.
Yep.
So, in any case, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it is frustrating, first of all, when you have a problem that isn't addressed. Second of all, when you get all those letters over various administrations. So I'd like to say, I hope me standing in front of you with everyone here and with all the cameras running is better than a letter. And I'm committing to you. We have a capital budget that will be announced in January. And I'm going to tell you that this is going to be a part of it, and I'm going to tell you why it's a part of it, because this is part of what makes it so pertinent, but also bluntly more believable. So Commissioner Bratton the other day talked about the investments we have made in the NYPD. And he very graciously compared it against other places he had been in his career, including when he was here before. And he said he'd never seen anything like it, because in terms of upgrading the equipment, the facilities, the training, etc., the technology, everything that keeps our officers safe, everything that allows them to do their job well. Again, more training than our officers has ever had by far, which will continue. All the investments we've made in the academy. He said since he's been here 2.5 years, he counted it up the other day, it's $1.9 billion in new investment in the NYPD. $1.9 billion to make it more effective, but also to protect our officers. That's all moving now. One of the next biggest needs in the NYPD is to address Rodman's Neck. We depend on it. It's a crucial part, obviously. Training our officers, giving them that ongoing firearms training is crucial. So it needs an upgrade, and you deserve, and everyone else affected by the sound deserves the sound abatement. It's 2016. We know how to do sound abatement. So there will be a budget in January for capital budget, 10-year capital budget for the city. I don't usually give previews. We're quite vigorous about the point that we don't announce things until we're ready to, but I knew I would be here tonight, so I can tell you with assurance there will be an upgrade of Rodman's Neck, and there will be soundproofing involved and included in that budget.
That's the noise we like to hear. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a priority. Thank you. We have the president now of Throgs Neck Houses Residents Association, Monique Johnson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. How are you? Good to see you. You must come back.
Is that the calm before the storm?
Y'all think y'all know me. What I want to say is I applaud your office for working so diligently with getting the homeless off of the streets. and moving them into housing. What I have an issue with, or what I'm concerned with, is once you move them into an apartment, there need to be some aftercare. We need to work with them to show them how to be good neighbors, show them how to have good housekeeping. They need to understand what it means now to live in an apartment and not outdoors. And when that doesn't happen, it makes life uncomfortable for everyone around. That's one. Two is living in public housing has become a nightmare because of the conditions of our buildings. We have constant leaks, and we are constantly being told that there is no monies to fix the leaks. However, the residents must hold the landlord accountable as we are held accountable for paying our rent. 3.
Monique.
And I won't be before you long, I promise. Okay.
Monique, I love you, but we gotta
Okay.
have 3's the last one now.
Okay.
All right, please.
Dang, which one? So I would like for New York City Housing Authority, the police department, and our district attorney's office to work together in weeding out the bad seeds. We have a lot of gang activity. We have identified 3 families which terrorize this whole development, 3 families. They get arrested, they come back out, and they continue to do what they do. We need more resources.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. So on the last point, we are very adamant that if someone is creating a danger to their neighbors, we don't accept that. We don't want revolving door. We want eviction in those cases. And we have, and bluntly, when I asked the question after a particular tragedy in East Harlem, where we lost one of our police officers, and one of these very same type of individuals who never should have been there to begin with. In fact, he should have been in prison a long time ago. That's its own story. Why was he allowed to still be in the development? And it turned out, despite some, I think, very sincere efforts by both NYPD and the Housing Authority, they just weren't working together the way they needed to actually expedite the eviction. There have been a lot of changes, to improve that situation. And my message to both departments is, I want people who are a danger out, period. I don't want to hurt their other family members. If their family members are not harboring them and understand that someone is a real threat to the neighbors, I don't want to hurt the family members. I just want the bad apple out. So that is the policy. On the physical reality, you're not wrong, and it pains me to hear it. It's 400,000 people. Now, every development's different. Some are newer, some are older, some in better shape, some in worse shape. But the bottom line is, the federal government started walking away from its primary role as the funder of public housing, more than the city ever was, back in the 80s. And we've just suffered ever since. Residents have suffered. The number is astounding. We need $18 billion to actually bring NYCHA up to the level it should be across the whole city. $18 billion. We do not have $18 billion. What we have, however, is a plan, Next Generation NYCHA, that through a series of steps will consistently bring us progress. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will focus on some of the buildings where the need is greatest, particularly in terms of roofs and leaks, certainly security systems. We're just going to keep doing everything we can. The city, as you know, added a lot more money to the NYCHA budget by no longer charging NYCHA for police coverage, which I think was unconscionable to begin with, by no longer charging NYCHA taxes, which had been the case since 1947. That was hundreds of millions of dollars a year right there. We have given that back for repairs. It's going to be a long road, but at least there is a vision of how you actually turn the thing around and provide the repairs and the bigger investments. Your last question, now it was a long time ago, remind me what the other one was? Oh, homeless who go in. Yeah, this is a very important one. I want to answer this question properly, I got to define something for people, which I think will be a shock to some people. Because we talked earlier about homeless folks who are on the street. Those folks are overwhelmingly people with mental health problems and substance abuse problems. We have been counting consistently, now we're counting more than ever before. That number is somewhere around 3,000 or between 3,000 and 4,000 people based on the latest counts for the entire city. The much bigger number is people in shelter. Okay, and a lot of times when someone is in shelter and we find them permanent housing, that's where most of the people are who are going to permanent housing. They're already in shelter. Who are they? They're not. They are not primarily people with a mental health problem or a substance abuse problem. They are people with an economic problem. Not even, there's certainly some who are domestic violence victims, but mainly they are people with an economic problem. Our shelters today are primarily families. Over 40,000 people are family members, including a huge number of families who are working. And I want people to hear this. The majority of people in shelter are families, not single adult men like it used to be. Families. The kids go to school. The parents go to work or go to job training and are ready to work. They can't afford a place to live. We've created a lot of affordable housing. Certainly, folks in shelter are going to be one of the groups of people who get affordable housing. Anyone can apply for affordable housing through the lotteries. But my point in that is, it's a bit of a there but for the grace of God go I. A lot of times now, the people who end up in affordable housing are folks who are just like you and me, who just could not make it economically and don't have to be taught anything. They just can go in like everybody else. But for those who have actual mental health problems, substance abuse problems, they don't go into regular old affordable housing. They go into supportive housing. That comes with exactly what you described, the kinds of support to help them make the transition and support them. So if you know of situations where a homeless family is placed somewhere and can't hack it, can't handle it, our commissioner can help to resolve that problem. That it may be a person or a family that needs to be in a very different kind of setting. Do you want to add? Commissioner Banks.
Thank you. I just want to highlight that as part of the mayor's reform of homeless services, he ordered a reform a number of months ago, 90-day review to look at a system that's been in place for 20 years, really hadn't been relooked at. One of the things we did look at is that there are some people that need some additional aftercare. The economic reality that the mayor described is the system for families, but nonetheless, there are some people that need aftercare. And I'm happy to say that in our budget, the mayor gave us the resources to start a contracting process with some not-for-profits to be available for those cases. So I think the offer from the mayor is one that we're going to be able to deliver on through 311 as you identify people, because we're going to be putting in place a new service delivery with our not-for-profit partners to address those cases that need help. And I think that will really help address your first question.
Thank you. And if you know or anyone in this room knows of someone who needs that kind of support, please come up and see Steve after.
Again, let me caution everyone, I'd like to take in as many questions as possible. The mayor is here for us tonight, but we have to be a little considerate when it comes to statements. So try to maximize our time with the mayor, of course. The president of Pelham Parkway Association, Andrea Siegel, you have a question? Okay.
Good evening. The Pelham Parkway has a number of reconstruction projects taking place on the Parkway. Unfortunately, they seem to be at a standstill at the moment. I'd just like to know what the progress is going to be.
And you have to help me a little bit to make sure I'm getting the right folks to answer. So we talked about what DDC is doing. Now, there are other pieces beyond that that I need to have addressed here?
There's a Pelham Parkway Mall project, and there's a Pelham Parkway North project.
Okay. Who's in this? Which agency? Parks? It's time for Parks. Mitch, you want to do it or you want her? Okay. Please, jump in.
Oh, I'm I'm sorry. Yes. What I'd like to say is that
Introduce yourself.
Iris Rodriguez Rosa, the Bronx Borough Commissioner for the Parks Department. Hi, Andrea. How are you? On the Parkway malls that we're doing currently is currently under construction, and as I've been informed, the project is ahead of schedule, and it's scheduled to be completed next spring. Spring of 2018. I'm sorry, spring of 2018. But it is ahead of schedule.
Spring after next.
The spring after next.
2018.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So on the previous piece, that is construction begins next year. On this one, completion by spring of 2018. Now tell me if there's anything we're missing, because I want to get you answers.
I've seen in our neighborhood, which is Pelham Parkway South, there, as I mentioned to Iris previously, it's at a standstill. I don't see it, and nor does anyone else in the community see any construction being done.
You mean there's literally no activity?
No.
Okay, we have witnesses. Back to you, Parks. What do you say to that? Mitch, we're getting an upgrade. Commissioner, New York City Parks Commissioner Mitch Silver.
Mitchell Silver, New York City Parks Commissioner. We have resident engineers. We will find out what the situation is. It could be a number of things, but rather than to go through those variables, we'll go ahead, find out, and Commissioner Rodriguez Rosa will get back to you.
Okay, so I'm going to upgrade that one a little. Commissioner, we're going to do the Borough Commissioner. I'd like you to go.
Yes, Andrea.
Visit.
As I
But wait,
mentioned-
wait, you have to listen to your instruction. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, you got to listen here. Listening skills. So, you will make an appointment at, tell me your first name? Andrea's a convenience. You're going to go look at what Andrea's seeing. One of the things I've found, I think everyone can appreciate this, is these good people do good work, but sometimes what's happening on the ground in the neighborhood is not what they're being told is happening. So it's good sometimes to go look for yourself. So go look for yourself with her and give her answers on what's going on. And if we find that everything's normal, there's legitimate lull and everything's on schedule, great. And if we find that someone was cheating us or not doing their job, we should be very clear about who's doing what.
Absolutely.
And they get the DA right. The DA's ready.
Yeah.
She's ready.
She's ready.
Thank you.
Is the president of Morris Park here? Morris Park Association? Oh, Tony Signorelli.
Grazie, grazie. Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Tony always tells me what to do at the parade each year. He's my leader.
How did you know I was going to bring that up?
A lucky guess, Tony.
Councilman, good evening. Mr. Mayor, for years, since you were an advocate, you always supported the Morris Park Community Association and the parade, and I want to thank you for that. I want to know if this year you're going to be attending the parade. Okay, because you did come last year, which was good. You were a little bit late because you had espresso before coming to the parade. You had.
I stopped. I think I went to Conte's for an
Conte's,
espresso.
right, right.
Is there something wrong with going to Conte's
No,
for an espresso
you didn't bring me a
on
cup.
Columbus Day?
You didn't bring me a cup. Anyway, I'm sure you're going to be there, and we're going to welcome you
I
again.
look forward to it.
About the parade. About 3 years ago, our previous administration, Bloomberg, decided to cut all parades 25% across the board, and the police force 15%. He actually cut the parade from Morris Park, Williamsbridge Road, up to Lightock Avenue. Is there anywhere, because I'm getting every year bombarding with phone calls, being harassed, that we could get just 3 blocks, just those 3 blocks back?
Tony. Tony, you're killing me. You're killing me here. I look, here's what I'll say. If I make that decision for you, I got to think about what it means for everyone else.
Absolutely.
So, I know you. I have the greatest respect for you. I love the parade. It's a fantastic parade. I will be there this year. I look forward to it. I have to look at that from a whole city perspective.
Correct.
So what I will pledge to you is that we will do that, and we'll come back and answer. I cannot tell you you're going to get the answer you necessarily want, But I can tell you I'll really look at it and see if it's something we can accommodate, and I'll give you an honest answer.
Also, will City Hall get a float this year for the parade?
Tony,
I'm
Tony, no.
Don't stretch your luck. Don't stretch your luck. You're doing well already. You're doing well.
Okay. My second question and last.
No.
And last.
No, what are you
it's
doing?
going to be a quick one.
That was
I
like
know
a four-part
it's
first
90
question.
Well, you know, you have
Make it
to
quick,
share.
make it quick.
You have to share. Anyway, it's 90 degrees and it's August. But let's backtrack to the winter. Winter storms. Snow removal.
Yep.
I am part and I chair for the Community Board 11, the Sanitation Department. This past year, we were bombarded. I was personally bombarded with phone calls. In some areas, we have narrow streets that the trucks cannot go through, the plows cannot go through.
I remember.
If sanitation does
let me answer, because I'm going to, if you don't mind, with your permission, because I already know what your question is, I have the answer you want. You like when you get a good answer. And this is going to sound a little stupid, but during the storm, that really bad storm we had, it turned out to be the worst blizzard we have had in the history of New York City when all the final counts were done. I was going around to different neighborhoods, and Queens particularly had some problem areas, but the Bronx, as you know, as you just said, also had some neighborhoods that didn't get plowed properly. So I went out to see for myself, and I saw some of the problems, and then I stopped at Conte's for an espresso. This is a true statement. So I remember all the pastries we brought back afterwards. So
I hope you got the diet-free ones.
No, and I should have, Tony. I should have. So thank you for the helpful advice. So after that experience, what we saw was sanitation department did an outstanding job all over the city. It really did. It was the biggest snowstorm we ever had. And so I want people to hear this, because there's a difference between the problems that we had to resolve, which are very real, but the overall picture. The snow was going, if my memory serves, into the evening on Saturday. By Monday morning rush hour, a huge amount of this city was up and running. And that was a real testament to the hard work of the folks at sanitation. But we had these problem areas. So here was the problem. Why did we have these areas that weren't working? So this was a running discussion with our sanitation commissioner, Catherine Garcia. What are we missing? What do we have to do differently? And she figured it out. And then she said, if you want to fix the problem, it will cost you. And then we put the money in the budget. And now she's going to get what she needs, and she's going to tell us how she will now deal with these small streets and make them clear in a snowstorm. Catherine Garcia.
It is always funny to talk about snow in the middle of the summer. It's a perk of my job. So in the Bronx this year, we will have additional small spreader equipment. So they're bigger than a pickup, but they're smaller than a regular large spreader. We are doubling that fleet size across the city, and in the Bronx we'll have an additional 13 here, specifically for those small streets. In addition, we are no longer going to be using the private contractor because they got stuck all over the Bronx, and we had to pull them out, which slowed us down. We're also making it so that we are redoing some of our routes to make them more efficient and adding front-end loader plowing equipment. Some of your streets, they're really, really, really tiny. I've been very surprised to try and figure out how these things happened, Polly. But we are making sure that we have the right equipment to go in there, because in some instances, we got to go take the snow out of that street. It depends on the situation, but to have the right equipment so that the department can be successful and that you can be happy. But you know that we anticipate that you will let us know if you are not.
Well said.
And if I can emphasize what the commissioner said, we in the council were sensitive to this issue also. I sit on the budget negotiating team. I'm in the leadership of the city council as well, and we put money in the budget with the mayor when we negotiated the budget for equipment that would specifically help small and narrow streets. That's what we need. We have so many of them in Throgs Neck and City Island and Morris Park, dead-end streets, narrow streets. So we did put money in the budget through the mayor and the council, and I think it's going to be very helpful to us this winter.
Don't
Not
say
this weekend.
You jinxed us.
Although I could say I'm ready with the heat we've experienced. I'm ready for winter at this point. Okay. Do we have the president of the Theodore Caroni Post here? Pat Devine is president, or does he want to speak? I don't know. Oh, do you want to speak, Tony? Are you the president? I'm just sorry. The commander? All right, Tony, do you have a question, Tony? I didn't see you there.
Actually, but thank you. Believe it or not, Mr. Mayor, no questions. You guys don't get many of these in government. A compliment and a thank you. When we start our American Legion meetings, we start out with to maintain law and order. So the Bronx County American Legion would like to thank the New York City Police Department for the fine job that they're doing, and know that you have 100% support of our veterans. Okay? Now, this lovely commissioner sitting here, who used to be MOVA, is now Department of Veteran Services, which we want to thank you for. 20, 30 years in the works. Pat, I wish he was here. He worked tirelessly for 20, 30 years. MOVA, Joe Mondello, there he is over there. That's here. And I'm sure, also at the community board level with Martin and community board 10, we hope it's not duplicitous, but we're going to be working on that level with Ruben Diaz to continue with that. So congratulations, Mrs. Commander, Mrs. Commissioner, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, so much.
Thank you.
All of you veterans of the Bronx, thousands of veterans of the Bronx, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We're very proud. Thank you for all you do. We're very proud to have the new Department of Veteran Services. We're going to focus on getting our veterans housing, jobs, physical health, mental health, the whole package. And our commissioner is talented, she's lovely, she's energetic, but you need to call her General because she was Brigadier General of the U.S. Army, Lori Sutton. Lori, take a bow. Take a bow. There you go. I think a few days in the brig will help him remember to address her by rank. Okay.
And before we go to our next speaker, I do want to say that one thing I'm proud of is that as a member of the Bronx delegation to the New York City Council, I was honored to reappoint again the Bronx representative to the Mayor's Veterans Advisory Council, our own Mr. Pat Devine. Okay, we finished with our host, and we'll now take questions from the audience. Yes, sir. No, sir. The gentleman there in the blue.
Thank you very much.
Just take questions. Identify yourself first.
Gonzalo Duran, the Executive Officer for Double Dog USA. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. My question has to do with student veteran homelessness. I know there's a lot of talks in the workway on how to take care of it. The last 10 years, I've heard a lot of whispers, but I haven't heard any concrete or anything put on paper. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of the people that I know or work with are trying to get housing in this area but can't. I can explain it later. It's not that detailed, but I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, I think I can answer the question.
No, the thing is I have 5 solutions. 2 of them only cost paper and ink. 2 of them can generate money for the city, and 1 takes money from the federal level. Is there anything in the works right now? And if anybody wants to know about it, I'll talk to you.
Let me say this. First of all, we'd welcome the suggestions, and I'd like you to see General Sutton, Commissioner Sutton afterwards. And what I'd say is we're very devoted to making sure veterans get housing. And with the encouragement and support of the White House, we ended chronic veterans homelessness in this city. We ended the reality of veterans who would go on the streets and just stay on the streets or go off and on the streets. We were able to find those veterans and get them housing. There are still some more veterans who need housing. and that's what we're working on. So she will certainly take your suggestion, but Lori, I'd like you to just tell people what we're doing right now for veterans to make sure they get housing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks so much for bringing this issue up. We know there are a number of issues related to student veterans. A number of them are couch surfing right now, and we're actively working to find out who they are, where they are, so that we can better meet their needs. We're also working in fact, right now, Fanula Seifert is here, who is our senior policy analyst working with our team of veteran peer coordinators. She's right here. Raise your hand, Fanula. And you are sitting actually in the perfect place, Devil Dog. We've got the full team of Team DVS right by you, including our own Bronxite, Letitia Rousseau, who is right there, as well as Ashmat Akkad. We would love to sit down with you and get your ideas. I will tell you right now what we are doing every single day, working with Commissioner Banks and the rest of city government and organizations and individuals all over this city, including the Bronx, including just last week, there was a groundbreaking for 59 new units here in the Bronx that will have a veterans precedence. Is it enough? Not yet, but are we on it, and are we eager to hear your ideas and to incorporate them into what we're doing, working supply and demand for all generations of veterans, including students? You bet we are. I'll look forward to meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for coming. I don't know if you remember, you came here to this restaurant at our dinner dance for the Throgs Neck Merchant Association.
Yes,
so I'd
I
like
do.
to introduce myself. My name is John Serini. I was the past president of the Throgs Neck Merchants.
John, I've known you a long time.
The
You're being
current
very formal,
treasurer.
John.
I would like to first thank Captain Raya and the 45th Precinct for the great work they do in the community. Last October 11th, we went out on Tremont with John Serrata, the Community Affairs Officer, and we did a stop and educate in the location where Mr. Figueroa was killed, unfortunately. And we intend to do that again this year. You know, our objective is safety, as always, safety. However, earlier tonight, you said that in democracy, there's things that we get to say. So I'm here to say it. So, you know, Councilman Jimmy Vaca appoints community board members to the Community Board 10. These community board members have voted against a road diet plan on May 21st, 2015. We are pretty upset, and you know, I don't know how many people are in the room. Can I see by show of hands how many people live in Throgs Neck or Pelham Bay? Okay, and how many people, keep your hands up, how many people would you say are opposed to this plan? Okay. Now, let me tell you, Mr. Mayor, that this is such a poor representation of our community, because I got the word out to probably 2,000 homeowners, and they were turned away. Many of them were turned away. They couldn't come. They called Jimmy's office. They called your office. They couldn't get in. RSVP only for a town hall. Never heard of it, but okay. But the point is that, you know, I have been in this community, like Jimmy, like many others in this community, for close to 50 years. I lived in Throgs Neck. Now I live in Pelham Bay. I'm right near the hot zone where you guys are trying to change the streets from 2 lanes to 1 lane. I have 4 kids. They take the buses on Tremont. They ride their bikes on Tremont, like Mr. Kevin here. They ride their bikes. So we have people who we're concerned with the safety of them for. But, you know, it seems like no matter what we say as a community, and by the way, 29 members of the community board voted against this, all which were appointed by Councilman Vaca. So his representation voted against this. So we have people and we have concerns, but we're being disregarded. Now, I think everyone in this room can agree with me that we, all of us in this room, look to you guys. We voted for you. You represent us. We're not in England. We're not in England. We're not a monarchy. We're not asking you to be our king and make decisions for us. We are not babies and children in diapers. We have sense. We have common sense. We know what we're doing. Our community board voted against this. By the way, I'd like to also bring about that we were very disrespected, that we're in Throgs Neck, and on this invite, totally disregarded Throgs Neck Merchant Association, Throgs Neck Homeowners Association, Waterbury LaSalle, Pelham Bay taxpayers, You're in Throgs Neck, Mayor de Blasio. You're in Throgs Neck. None of the Throgs Neck organizations, and only reason why the Throgs Neck homeowners was on your list tonight was because Rocco called to get put on. But we were disrespected because this is a fight we're against.
Okay, John,
we
let
need
me
you
get an
guys to
answer
hear
in here.
us.
John, look, first of all, I've known you a while, and I was honored to come to your organization several times over the years. And I appreciate the point you're making about listening to people, but I just can't accept the idea that people haven't been listening, because I've been listening, Jimmy's been listening. I think you can say Jimmy knows this. Well, it doesn't mean, well, wait a minute. Democracy cuts both ways, so let's have this discussion. Community boards, huh? No, it's not a personal debate. Don't worry. You got your point in, John. But I just want to say, in a representative democracy, I think you're misreading the Constitution a little here. We are elected with the point of saying to people what we intend to do. And I certainly talked about Vision Zero and what it would mean for this city to protect people, because we were losing hundreds of people a year. And we have put together a plan with NYPD, Department of Transportation, Taxi and Limousine Commission, that has been proven to have saved many, many dozens of lives just in the last 2 years, and avoided many, many other crashes that caused undue harm to families, to seniors, to children. So this direction is what I said I would do and what I'm doing. And by the way, I go all over New York City, and there's a lot of people who believe in it. Now, when a community board disagrees, we listen, we weigh it, we look at it. But no, in this democracy, you elect elected officials to, yes, listen, but to also use our judgment in the final analysis. We don't go back on everything. I'm sorry, no, it's, if you think that an elected official in representative democracy is supposed to come back and do a questionnaire on every issue and try and figure out if everyone agrees, that's not how it works. We heard the concerns. We negotiate when we think it's in the public's interest. But if we think it's about safety, and this is what we believe, I'm sorry, a town hall meeting is a place where we get some things done, and it's also a place where I'm going to tell people what I believe, whether you want to hear it or not. But we think this will save lives and protect people. That is a sacred obligation.
Excuse me.
John, give him a second.
I'm running this
moderate.
meeting, not you. No, I'm chairing this meeting because you, excuse me, the mayor indicated that you would be allowed to ask a question, and you did, and the mayor responded. Excuse me, you mentioned my name, and I'd like you to please sit down, and I'd like to respond to the allegations you made concerning me.
Or like the misinformation?
Yeah, that you've spread.
Like the misinformation?
Like you've spread, yes. The reality is, I do appoint members to Board 10. Some of them are from my appointment, some of them are from Andy King in Co-op City, some of them are from the borough president. I don't tell members of Community Board 10 how to vote on traffic, sanitation, pothole issues. I don't tell them how to vote. They vote how they want to vote. The reality is that it was Community Board 10 who requested that a traffic study be held on this stretch of East Tremont Avenue. The request came from them, not from me. The reality is that when Community Board Committee met, the Community Board Committee met and voted in favor of the plan. The reality is, I'm talking, the reality is that the board then voted no. And when the board voted no, almost a year and a half has passed, and the board voted no and never came forth with a suggestion as to what to do. The board never, excuse me, I'm a city councilman. I have to act as I feel best for the safety of the residents of my district. I consider this stretch of Tremont Avenue, because of the contour of the road and because of the fact, and the DOT commissioner can elaborate, that we have had over 100 accidents there since 2015 or 2013, over 100. I said to you that I am speaking. You're interrupting. You are interrupting. I didn't. I'm.
Look up the New York State Department of Motor Vehicle Records.
We have to agree not. We have to agree, and I heard someone shout red light cameras. I've heard other people say speed bumps. Let me explain. Number one, the law does not allow the city of New York to put, state law does not allow the city of New York to put red light cameras on East Tremont Avenue. Red light cameras, the city of New York has only been allowed to put 150 speed cameras, and they must only be near schools. So we're not allowed to put speed cameras there by law. Speed bumps, I'd love speed bumps on Tremont Avenue. You cannot put speed bumps on Tremont Avenue because it's a bus route. We have tried putting up the direction, the board that tells cars how fast you go. People disregard the board, and people have destroyed the board. It's been there for months on end, if you've seen it. And it's been destroyed and graffitied everywhere else I've tried to put it. So therefore, when the Department of Transportation produced a plan, and I've made some tweaks to it, I've made some changes, which I think they've agreed to make it even better, because I felt it could have been made better. I had concerns. They addressed them. I tell you the truth, this is not being done in concrete. This is being done in paint. So the reality is that there are no plans to put concrete on East Tremont. And if what we do in paint is something which the community feels is negative, we have the opportunity to correct what we do. I think that there has been so much misinformation to the point of fantasy. And let me tell you, you can yell at me and everything else. What I am doing, I feel, and what I'm supporting is for the safety of the people that I represent. I take that road myself every day. So do I. Good for you. Commissioner?
Yeah. All right, thank you, Councilmember Vaca, for your leadership. And look, I know this project has obviously created a lot of controversy. I'll just add a couple points. I mean, one thing I do want to reiterate, Vision Zero obviously has been a big priority for this administration. I looked over the statistics again for this district and for East Tremont. They are some of the worst in the city. The number of crashes that you've had here that have resulted in serious injuries, and obviously we've had 2 fatalities in recent years, including... Okay, John, I mean, I have looked...
Can you control yourself, please?
And look, believe me, I wish those statistics weren't so. It makes me very sad, but obviously when we see those kind of statistics, we ask ourselves what we can do. And look, you all know there was a terrible fatality here just a couple of months ago. Gianni Nin, a cyclist, his family is here. So when we see those kind of fatalities, well, let me finish. Let me finish. All right, let me finish. So look, we are guided in first by the fact that that stretch of roadway, as the council member said, because of the curves, because of the width, has seen a lot of crashes. The project we're talking about, he put it well, it's what we call a 4 to 3. It's a project, it's a type of project we've done all over the city. We've done a lot of them in the Bronx, where we have, in a lot of the places in the Bronx, the roadways are very wide. There's not that much traffic. It induces speeding. As he said, we are doing it in paint. And when we do a project, we don't just do a project and walk away. We come back, we make sure that it's working, we talk to the community, we make adjustments as needed. So that is what we will do here.
Thank you. Call on someone else.
Next. Can you stand up?
I might not see this smile again ever. I just lost my son 2 months ago. Please, help me not to see another mother like this. I'm not going to see this smile again, but please help me not to see another mother the way I am right now. Thank you.
Sir, no, sir, I'm going around the room. Sir, stand up.
Hi, I'm Father Wilfredo Benitez. I'm rector of St. George's Church in Flushing, Queens. However, I am a native of the Bronx and a resident of City Island and a neighbor to Barbara. And I would like to get back to the point of Rodman's Neck. Would also like to share that I'm a former police chaplain. So I have a strong, supportive backbone in me for the police department. However, the noise generated by Rodman's Neck begins at 8:30 in the morning and goes to 9 o'clock at night, sometimes even beyond that. It's like having fireworks all day, nonstop. Even when you close the windows, that noise is there. I can't practice my contemplative prayer because of the constant noise. I have a beautiful pier. I love City Island. It's one of the best kept secrets in New York City. It's a wonderful, peaceful place. That's why I went to live there. But when that constant noise is going, and when the bombs go off, and car alarms go off on our street, and I literally feel the strength of those bombs on my chest, it raises a lot of concern. And for 3 decades or so, we've had mayors, police commissioners promise that this was going to be resolved. At the very least, a sound abatement would be put in place.
What is your question?
My question is, Mayor, tell us, convince us that you are the mayor that's going to make a difference. That it's not going to be empty promises again.
Father, I respectfully, and I really appreciate both the work you do as a faith leader and what you did with the NYPD, but I don't know what was missing from what I said before in front of everyone about the changes we're going to make. I've said it as clear as I could say.
3 decades of promises.
Look, I respectfully, I really do respect all you do, but again, I like to keep it real in these meetings. I wasn't those guys. You will judge me why I would do it. Perfectly public record. I'm standing here in front of you. It doesn't get more real than this. I understand the problem. It will be in the budget. Now, the bomb thing, I want to say, because you're raising another point. You said it too, but the way you said it raised something in my mind. I want the sound abatement for the firing range. I want to make sure people can live a normal life, et cetera. And the whole thing needs improvement anyway for the police's need. This bomb reality is something I'm hearing for the first time. And so I will go back to Commissioner Bratton, to Chief O'Neill, and have this conversation about what level of abatement we can achieve with a bomb, which is a different reality than a firearm, and if there are alternatives. I think we all agree we want our bomb squad to be ready and well-trained. That is a huge imperative for this city, but maybe there's a way to do it that has less impact on the neighborhood or another way to go about it. So I will get you that answer. But in terms of the capital budget, absolutely positively it will be in it.
Okay, sir, here.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I'm Dr. Alvin Ponder of Co-op City, a member of Bronx Community Board 10, a member of the Health and Human Services Committee. I'm also the chair of the HIV/AIDS Committee at the National Action Network. I got a chance to thank you, Mr. Mayor, during the Gay Pride Parade for what you and the council has done in terms of the HACA bill, which will allow for those who are infected with HIV to have benefits that were previously denied because they were not sick enough. In other words, benefits for housing, nutrition, and transportation were available for low-income people if you had AIDS. Now, because of the work of the City Council and the Mayor, the eligibility will change on August 29th. And my question is, here in the Bronx, we have a fast-growing population of individuals between the ages of 20 and 29. And I wanted to know what will be done in terms of that rollout so that they will not be left behind. My second question.
So
yes.
I really want to say, I don't mean to interrupt you personally, I just want to say this to everyone. If we want to get the maximum number of questions in, really want to remind people 1 question per person is a great rule, and we'd like to not have a lot of back and forth and not belabor it. We want to get the maximum number of questions. So I say that to you. If you can say it really, really quick, we can make a quick exception, but I want people to remember that. Go ahead.
The second question is about the Zika virus. Let me parenthetically say that...
Just give me the question. Come on.
Can we increase the education in regards
Yes.
to the population,
Okay,
especially with
let
the
the mayor
men,
let the mayor answer.
especially
Let the
with
mayor
the men
answer.
and
It's
testing?
a powerful, powerful question. I appreciate that. So let me, Dr. Bassett will speak to the Zika situation, our health commissioner, and in terms of reaching those 20 to 29-year-olds and making sure they know what's going to be available to them. I don't know if that's Mary or Steve. Okay. So Mary first on the Zika virus. Dr. Mary Bassett.
Good evening, and thanks very much for that question. We've been really working hard on Zika, and even though the federal government, as you probably are aware, has been completely hamstrung on this issue and unable to release the funds that are badly needed on the national level, our mayor has committed $21 million over the next 3 years to make sure we're able to mount a comprehensive response. Our first effort at getting word out to the community was to let people know about how to protect themselves from mosquito bites and how to let us know about standing water. That was something that we really wanted to hear from everyone. We wanted them to understand that mosquitoes breed in water and that they should remove standing water. And where is Catherine Garcia? Every sanitation truck in this city had information about how we could fight Zika and fight mosquitoes in the city. Now we need to move on to let people know about the importance of following our travel warning and for them also to understand that Zika can be spread by other means than mosquitoes. We have had in this city now 4 cases of Zika that was spread by sexual transmission. We are preparing to release that next campaign, but we really need to get the message out that the main person to worry about with Zika is the pregnant woman. And I've been truly distraught that we haven't made it clear enough, I guess, to pregnant women that they should not travel to areas where there's Zika. We've tested over 3,000 pregnant women because they've been exposed. We have 48 pregnant women who have been infected with Zika because of travel. And we have 1 baby with microcephaly born in this city. So this is really serious, everyone. And I appreciate the question.
Okay.
But there's no Zika being transmitted here in New York City.
On HIV, Steve Banks.
Thank you very much for raising this issue. This is an important issue to the mayor. Last year, money was put in the budget. We had to wait a state change, and now we can go ahead and implement it. There will be notices going out. We kept a record as best we could of people who applied and were found ineligible because they had HIV but not AIDS, hoping for their day where there'd be a change in state procedure. And now we're going to be going back to reach out to those people. And we're going to be working with our not-for-profit advocacy organizations that are under contract with us and work with us to get the word out. And we'll be ready on the 29th to begin to expand those services.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to call more hands, but I know several people are here from Edgewater Park Cooperative. Okay. Is Ruthie Del Franco here, or does anyone want to speak? I want to get one question in because I know there's a particular issue. Would you stand up and identify yourself?
We have a large drug problem in our community in the Bronx, and there doesn't seem to be any dedicated drug police team. We were fortunate enough Captain Raya came and met with us, and very helpful, but there's no dedicated drug team or narcotic team to take care of the heroin issues that we have in our community.
Well, the heroin, let me start and then turn to the captain. The heroin issue is becoming, as everyone I think realizes now, a huge problem in this city, in this country. The Bronx has had particular challenges, Staten Island as well, so we're putting more and more policing resources, health resources, a whole host of things. This is going to be a very big battle, and unfortunately, unlike some other challenges in society, a lot of it is below the surface. You know, we don't find out until it's already an advanced problem in someone's lives. But in terms of narcotic sales, NYPD is very good at disrupting that. So who's going to speak to this in terms of what we can do there? Chief.
I know there's always been issues about, Jason Wilcox, Chief Jason Wilcox is here. I'll bring him up if there's anything he needs to add. Jason Wilcox is in charge of all the investigative units in the Bronx, which would be the detectives, narcotics, gang, and things like that. So I know since I've been here, the issue of the 4-5 not having their own dedicated narcotic module has always been an issue. The 4-5 is combined with the 43rd, just as the 49th is combined with the 47th. Just logistically and resource-wise, we have to do it that way. But I'm happy to report that the activity for the 4-5 portion of that module is through the roof. Search warrants are up 233%. Arrests are up 80%. Undercover buys are up 900%. and gang arrests are up 120%. That's along with a 29% reduction in narcotic complaints. So I understand you want your own dedicated module, but it is split. That's the way it's been, and that's the way the job has designed it. I don't know if there's anything Chief Wilcox wants to add to that, but it does get attention. But you have to understand, he's in charge of the entire Bronx.
There we go. I want to, you're speaking inside police language a bit, so let me just say, what I'm hearing you say is that a whole lot of impact is being had by these narcotics officers. And I want to make sure you're experiencing that too. So this is very simple to me. I don't care about the modules. I care about whether the bad guys are being caught. And it sounds like the overall success is very high. Can you fill us in about what's happening in that specific location and if we need to reinforce it more?
Good evening to all my fellow Bronx residents. I'm Deputy Chief Jason Wilcox. I'm the commanding officer of Detective Bureau Bronx, which there was a big change that happened in the beginning of this year where the assets of Bronx Gang, Bronx Narcotics, were merged with all the investigative assets of Bronx detectives. The goal was to really unify the whole investigative process, to bring it all under, basically under my supervision so we can get things done quicker, faster. And one of the absolute goals of this investigative process is to work very closely with those precinct commanders. They are absolutely our eyes and ears to crime conditions in this borough. And we respond to them, we listen to them, and that is absolutely my #1 priority. Now, Inspector McCormick, Chris McCormick, who is a Throgs Neck, born from Throgs Neck, is the commanding officer of Bronx Narcotics. We work very closely in this area, and I can guarantee you that any issues of concern will be addressed. We work closely every day with the commanding officers. So if there's a particular, I know it's Edgewater, we will definitely revisit it. As Chief Nakunin mentioned, our activity is up. There was some violence in Throgs Neck earlier this year. We redirected our efforts here. We've really doubled our enforcement here. But particular issues will be addressed, and I will work closely with your commanding officer to address this.
Chief, will you do me a favor? I'd like you to go to Edgewater and meet with the residents so you can hear directly from them what the problem is and then tell them directly what your game plan is. I think that would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And Mr. Mayor, it will not just be myself, it will also be Inspector McCormick, commanding officer of Bronx Narcotics.
Excellent.
We will be there together. Thank you.
Yes.
Good. And we appreciate that you're fighting to make sure your community is safe, so you'll get an in-person visit from the chief to address the issue.
Mr. Mayor, we'll have the CO of the 4 or 5 go along because they have to work hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And please feel free to use my office. I'd like to be there. I'll have my staff there with the, I will be there. Yes, Ruthie, you have a question? No, you're fine? We go back here, sir. Stand up, sir.
My name's Tommy Breen. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Vaca. Back in February, my brother and I produced a short film highlighting the dangerous road conditions on Shore Road, and we posted it online, and the media reported on it. And your office gave a statement saying that the DOT will continue road maintenance and agencies will collaborate on a long-term solution. So I'd just like to know if the emergency work has been done for now, but I want to know where we are as far as a long-term solution. Are you committed to reconstructing Shore Road?
Thank you for the question. And do you have the specifics? Okay, Commissioner Trottenberg.
You are correct. We were able to go in and do some of those shorter-term emergency repairs. In terms of the longer reconstruction project, that has been part of the discussions we're having now in the upcoming capital plan. So that's certainly on our list of projects to look at. We know it's one that's been a big concern in the community.
Okay, so the answer to that is, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. I appreciate, by the way, that you did that film because this is a great example of using the digital world to bring a concern to the attention of government and get a solution. In January, we're setting this 10-year capital plan. So you have just effectively lobbied to get it on my brain and her brain to make sure it's in the plan. I can't guarantee it yet. I want to get through the process, but I'm hearing you loud and clear. We will have an answer in January.
Sir, stand up.
nervous. My name is Nelson Vega. I'm from Throgs Neck Houses. I want to address the management. We go into management and they want nothing to do with us. They don't even acknowledge us except for when we're going to pay the rent. The only one, we have to go to another tenant, Monique Johnson, to get things done. And she don't even work for them. She's a volunteer. And one more thing about the elderly. I work for a senior center, and Vaca, you do so much for us. You was there yesterday. You really do. Klein, everybody, he's great. You're the best. But they ignore the seniors. I work for a senior center. I'm not going to say the name, but I got seniors here with me, and every time I got to stop my work to put in a ticket to the 707 downtown, and when we call back to see why they wasn't addressed, they closed out the tickets.
Okay, why don't we have, I think you would want NYCHA, I think Mr.
Shanu.
No, the mayor has indicated that NYCHA will be staying after the meeting.
Great.
And I would like
let's,
these issues addressed.
There he is, Michael Kelly,
There he
General
is, Michael
Manager,
Kelly.
NYCHA, so stand up.
Thank you.
Michael
and I just want to
Kelly.
give a shout out to the 45th Precinct and PS88, Ms. Nelson.
Thank you. So let me say, and Michael, give him the mic just in case he wants to add. On the point of how a management and development treats the residents, I am very intolerant of residents being treated poorly. It's not right. And but let me say, I understand, as I said, the incredible demands on the NYCHA employees because of the history of NYCHA not getting the money it deserves and all the problems, all the repairs, et cetera. But that is never an excuse for treating people disrespectfully. So whenever I hear a concern about management and development, it registers with me, and I make sure to register it with the general manager. Michael is the person who runs the entire housing authority, housing for 400,000 people. So Michael, do you want to say something about either this specific development or how you will go about looking into the situation?
Ms. Johnson had alerted me of this issue. As you know, we did a change in the superintendent recently based on these kinds of concerns. After the meeting, I'll go into more detail with you about the larger issue of management.
I do want to say one thing very quickly, and that is that the senior center here that Nelson alludes to, we have had leaks consistently. The floor tiles are all ridden with leaks, evidence of the leaks. The leak was fixed last week from 2 apartments above. The tiles have never been replaced, so you see all the wiring. But I'd like you to look at the center and see what we can do about the tiles on the floor and the tiles above, because we want a conducive atmosphere for the seniors. Okay, Audrey, go ahead, Audrey.
Thing that we're talking about, a particular senior center. I went there last Friday. I had to walk around the block, back around another area to get into the dining room because this water leaking it's not leaking, it's pouring. It's like a waterfall, right? And they said, oh, someone's coming to fix it. That was about 3 months ago, somebody was coming to fix it.
Okay.
Then it was a drip. Now it's a waterfall.
Audrey, I'd like to
And these seniors are scared to come in the building because they got to go up this ramp, which is slippery, and they're afraid to walk up. Somebody's got to help them up the ramp and back off the ramp. And then when they go home, somebody's got to walk them around because they're scared walking around the back of the building because water's coming down from there, too. It's horrible.
Audrey, if you could stay around and meet with Mr. Kelly as with Nelson, because you have a knowledge. John?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, my friend.
Councilmember Vaca. As a small businessman in the Bronx, in New York City, who went through the Bloomberg years and watched the wholesale destruction of businesses due to fines, I want to thank you for keeping your campaign promise to reduce those fines on small businesses. I also want to point out to you, which I'm sure you're sorely aware, that in the newspaper this morning there was an article in the New York Post, City summonses on the rise despite de Blasio promises. And it cited in particular the Department of Sanitation, which is ticketing businesses for garbage issues. Vito Terzo, the voice of garbage in New York City, made a statement that they're targeting areas that are not clean. In the Westchester Square district that I represent, we spend $120,000 a year on supplemental sanitation services. So there's not even any reason for them to be coming around and issuing tickets like they did on Sunday
John,
in the afternoon.
What is your question?
The
Now
question-
come back again. What is your question?
Okay. On Sunday, someone got a ticket for putting out garbage in the afternoon because the next day is pickup day, okay? And they got a $100 ticket. Are we going backwards, or is there something that's going to change?
No, I appreciate the question, and I'll have Catherine speak in a second. But John, that was very brief for you. I was impressed. It's possible. That is true. I've known John a long time. I appreciate all you've done for the community, and you are one of the people I've first had the conversations with about how the over-ticketing was destroying small businesses. And then when we did the report in the Public Advocate's Office, we found it was disproportionately happening in the outer boroughs versus Manhattan and in immigrant communities versus other communities. We found a real pattern of discriminatory practices on top of everything else. But the bottom line was that it was just bad policy. We didn't want to hurt small businesses. We wanted to solve problems. And so those tickets, as you said, they came down in a number of agencies. There's some areas where, as we talked about Vision Zero before, there's areas where we think to protect people, we're going to be aggressive. So there's times when you might see more tickets, for example, speeding, different kind of thing, but speeding and failure to yield. NYPD is giving out a lot more tickets in those categories than they did in the past because there was a strategic reason, not revenue. It was stopping people from speeding and failing to yield to pedestrians. So nothing's static, but it should be strategic. It should not be about revenue. It should not be about punishing store owners or homeowners. So, Catherine, I'd like something that I can understand too about why. I'd love you to respond to that Post article because I haven't heard all the details about our view on whether it was accurate or not. And I'd like you to respond to John's very particular example. If his organization is doing cleanup on a regular basis, why would that happen?
So there are a couple of things that you raised.
Is your microphone
on? There are a couple of things that you raised. So the citation that you're citing from Sunday, I'm assuming it was from a residential customer. It was a commercial business that put out the material before they were legally allowed to. And so if they were seen by one of our supervisors, they have to give a ticket if they see something that that is legal. There was no targeting happening on Sunday. We do not have quotas. We are not looking for revenue. I would like to give no tickets. There are areas of Staten Island where I have enforcement agents who go around, they give almost no tickets because the areas are clean. But that is also our largest complaint from your neighbors, is dirty areas and dirty sidewalks, and we have to make sure that we are out there addressing it. We do a lot of education, and have worked very hard to make sure we're doing it both in multiple languages and in pictures about how to avoid sanitation fines, because I don't want you to get a fine. And I also do not want to be unclear about when we're going to enforce. We only enforce during certain hours against 1 hour against commercial businesses. So it's not that you have to be perfect 24/7. It's just 1 hour a day.
Okay, let's stay there for a second. So we have a goal to not fine people, and you said it there. So there could be individual instances where someone is abusive of their neighbors, and of course, at a certain point, after all the warnings, after all the education, someone's going to get a fine. But the uptick that was reported, do you believe it was accurately reported or not?
I believe that we had an uptick in tickets.
And why?
I think that there's an uptick in tickets for two reasons. One, there's a period of time where we didn't give a lot of tickets during Hurricane Sandy, and sort of didn't do any enforcement in a lot of areas. The second thing is that we've had more officers out there focused on cleaning issues. We've had about 10% more officers focused primarily on cleaning, which is why our scorecard has gotten a lot better in the last year.
Okay, so I want to bring the pieces together to John's point. There's an interesting thin line there. Of course we want cleanliness, But the goal is cleanliness without the fines, with the maximum education, the maximum warnings. And then, as we've said, if someone really doesn't want to follow the rules and follow the laws, they will be fined. And if they have to be fined repeatedly, they'll be fined repeatedly. I want to make sure we are doing the education and alert part effectively. And as we talked about years ago in the report, if we have to do it in multiple languages, whatever we have to do. So I want to do something specific. I'd like you to go out and meet with John and his organization personally so that we can all get on the same page going forward about your area. But I also want to make sure we think we are really getting to people to explain things and to try and get them on the right path before we're resorting to ticketing.
So I would be happy to come out and meet individually with you. I do think that we've done a lot. I actually would encourage any of you to reach out to our offices because we always want to be doing education. I actually don't think in this area there's been an uptick in tickets on cleanliness. I actually think your ticket increase was on recycling. It's also a big priority of mine.
It's the same point, though. I'm saying this
Yes,
with,
but
you know I love recycling, but it's the same point. How do we do it without the tickets to the maximum extent
So
possible?
we would be happy to leverage anything. We have a lot of, we've worked with the councilman on cleaning issues, and he has been very supportive around cleaning issues and doing high-end baskets. So any opportunity we have, we would like to participate with you and your organizations on additional education.
Okay, thank
Sal,
you.
go ahead.
Mr. Mayor,
How are you, my friend?
Councilman, thank you.
Thank you, Sal.
I have a little bit of a statement. I'm sure you're aware of it, but I just want to accentuate it. The city has a policy that when a homeowner falls in arrears with the taxes, they sell the tax lien. Are you aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the tax lien is sold. And I have an example. One of my neighbors fell into the trap. They don't speak English. Their tax lien was sold, I think it was for $14,000. They didn't know any better. But the bank that buys the lien is not motivated to collect on it or to enforce it because they're getting 18.5% just by sitting on it. And they usually take a 2-3 year period till they finally serve the person. By that time, legal fees kick in. The bill is $82,000 right now, and these people are going to lose their house. It's going to be a short sale, and they're going to add to your homeless problem or our homeless problem. And recently, the city council renewed this policy for another 13 years. So if we should take care of our elderly, and incidentally, the Bronx has the highest ratio of foreclosure on tax liens. If we should care for our elderly and try to decrease homelessness, the city used to put a lien on the property and wait till the person died or when it was sold. And now the city sells it. At least make a deal with the bank. You want to buy the lien, make the interest not usury. 18.5% is robbing without a gun, your mayor.
Let the mayor answer.
No, I appreciate the point. And I don't know if anyone from either HPD or Finance, if anyone wants to add to what I'll say. I appreciate you raising it because I think you make a very good point. I want to separate the two kinds of people who get into tax trouble. There are people who get into tax trouble because they are simply breaking the law. We've seen, sadly, too many cases of this, whether it's residential or commercial. Someone thinks they can get away with it, someone doesn't care. And that's an instance where I'm glad we have a tax lien policy because then we're doing the taxpayers' bidding because if someone abuses the law and doesn't pay their fair share, we should be able to go in there and get the compensation the people deserve. But the point you make about seniors in particular, who may be, as the phrase goes, house rich, but asset poor, cash poor, that's a real issue. And I think you make a good point. There might be some other ways to approach it that try and avoid a situation where someone who literally is just not paying because they have no other option doesn't end up in that jam. So that's one I want to come back on. I appreciate the point. I don't know, again, if anyone from HPD or Finance has any more sophisticated answer than I could give, but I appreciate the question, and I want to see if we can come up with a specific plan for how to deal with that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Al?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming. Thank you, Jimmy. My question is something that it's going to be real easy for you, Mr. Mayor. Loretta Park is a park in our community. Our councilman, our assemblyman, our borough president, and our state senator all gave money so that we could transform Loretta Park into basically a softball field again and a soccer field. Everything has been done, and I've worked with Iris, and she's been a sweetheart. She's been terrific to work with, except the red tape tells us it's going to take us about 3 years to get this done. The money is already sent. Our elected officials already sent the money in, so the money is already in the hands of Parks. Maybe you can do us a favor and cut through that red tape?
Well, let's find out right now. Mitch, can we cut through that red tape?
Actually, all the funding is not in place. It's committed, but the money has not. We cannot start a project until we have the funds in place.
What are we talking
There
about
are
here?
some state funds that we have to receive, and then we can proceed with the project.
Just so I can understand it, you're saying there's commitments from the state or from a state elected official?
It's state elected
Elected official, and that we need that confirmed, and how do we get that done?
We're in the process right now.
You can have the microphone.
No, thank you. No, not at all, not at all. We just have to confirm that the funds are in the budget, because usually with the state funds, it takes a little longer for the grants to be allocated. So we have to wait until it's all in the budget and complete so we can start the design process.
Who's trying to confirm that? The state budget was passed on April 1st, so.
It usually comes through DASNY, so we have to wait through the agency, the state agency, to be able to approve it, and it's their finance division that has to approve that. So, yes.
I'm turning my head on the side here. This sounds a little convoluted. I'm sure that it's business as usual, but we don't like business as usual, do we? No. Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we see if we can speed that up a little? Because if everyone's agreeing the money, you have the total you need if that comes through, right? So the question is simply confirming with the state to the satisfaction of our budget process, so you can go ahead and get to work. So let's get the budget director, Dean Fullahan, to intervene and get us this answer from the state, because this one sounds like one of the simpler questions that's going to come up tonight. Once you had that confirmation, how long would it take to complete this project?
We've now shortened our process. It used to be 4.5 years. It's now a little over 3 years for design, procurement, and construction.
What is it? What is it? Gold plated? What are we doing here? What is this?
It is the rules. Both the city and the state have put forward both the design, procurement, and construction. On average, I can go through the numbers. We shortened it since we've been here by close to well over a year.
I appreciate that. Let's wait. Let's give credit where credit is due. If on Mitch's watch it's a year quicker than it used to be, let's give him a round of applause and thank him. Now that you've been rewarded with the support of the people, how do we go farther and make it even faster? Is there something we can do to, because this doesn't sound like a very complicated project.
In terms of procurement process, there are 5 entities that have to sign off. That's about 7 to 12 months. Nothing we can do about that.
I disagree respectfully. One interpretation, if that range, I want us to see if we can tighten up that range. I get that there are legal steps, 100%. But I want to see how we can push those legal steps to be faster rather than slower, because you know and I know if you push, you can get to the better part of the curve rather than the lesser part of the curve.
The good news is we've been closer to the 7-month time frame of the 7 to 12.
Nice.
And construction is construction. On average, it is 12 months or sooner to complete construction. We have, however, streamlined
the numbers are getting
design.
better, Al. They're getting better as we go along.
And we...
I was like, do I hear 2 years? Do I hear 2 years?
So, for example, your CPI project, signature project, you announced it October 2014. We broke ground on the first one this week, 3 months ahead of schedule. So we're streamlining the process. We'll find ways of getting it done quicker.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Edith. Excuse me.
No, let's hope not. No, Vision Zero and Tremont's paint. They're talking about a totally renovated Loretto Park construction-wise. This is mortar, brick, concrete. So this is a total reconstruction of the park, not a paint job. Excuse me, Edith, go ahead.
Okay, welcome to our borough, Mr. Mayor. We love our borough. We're very fortunate here. In all due respect to all the police officers here, I know you're the greatest, but the 49th is the best. Okay? I have a couple of questions here. I don't even know if anyone is here to answer my questions. We have no bus.
I want to hear from you, but I'm saying you can, any specific narrow question, they will stay after because they're going to be here all night.
I talk to the
But,
captain very often. I
see,
don't
you
need
have-
it all night.
But if you have something bigger,
I
I'm
do.
ready.
Yes, I do.
I'm ready.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to know if anyone is here that's responsible for putting bus routes on. We have no bus route on Westchester Square going to the Department of Education has a building in this Commerce Street, I believe it is. We also have
and
Motor
motor-
Vehicle Bureau there. There is no way to get there. You get off the bus at the park and you have to walk all the way down, which is a very, very big walk.
So
Not bad in the summer, but in the winter when it gets dark at 5 o'clock and it's snow and it rains, it's treacherous and very dangerous.
No, I appreciate it.
Anyone here?
I like to tell every audience I speak to, the MTA is run by the state of New York. I would love to run it myself. I would do some things differently, but it's run by the state. But we have seats on the MTA board, and one of the MTA board members is
I'd
right
like
here.
to run it too, but I can't.
You'd be good at it.
Okay, my
Polly, could you
Wait,
speak?
but there's one other question, then I'm finished.
No, one question, that's it.
Then Jimmy, I'll deal with your office tomorrow.
On second thought, I walked into that one. On second thought, ask all the questions you want. No,
I'll
go ahead,
hand the
Paul.
mic back over. I think, as you heard the mayor say, the MTA is a state agency, and he would love to run it. I wish he could run it. I think we would have better service for folks in the city. But when I hear, I am on the board, and so particularly when I hear from city residents, I hear concerns, I bring them back to the MTA and work with them to see what we can do. Sometimes they're more responsive than other times, but happy to talk to you afterwards. If there are particular bus service questions, we can try and get together with them and see what they'll do for us. Yeah.
Sir, here.
My name is Kevin DeLoya. I live locally. I respect the Merchants Association, what they said. I'm here to talk about the Tremont Avenue diet plan. Thank you for implementing the plan. Thank you for initiating her implementing the plan, Ms. Johnberg. I got word that there was a fatal hit-and-run crash on Tremont Avenue back in June with the Nin family who's sitting in front of me. And it caught me by surprise when I saw the news that the reporter kept saying the word accident. And I'm a firm believer in Vision Zero, and I'm a member, associate, ambassador, advocate for transit alternatives as well. Drive my car every day in this neighborhood, 5 times a day, all local, and I'm a cyclist, as was mentioned. I would like that plan to go forward, so my question simply is, now that the recommendation to the DOT has been brought forward and the DOT has approved and is looking to move forward with that plan, excuse me, 1 second, I'd like to say a whole lot more. When would that start?
I think you've heard the mayor and the council member say that the plan is going to be going forward, and we will be starting this summer.
Next, the gentleman there in the hat.
It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it, the opportunity to speak. This is a city that has almost 3 million people by night, 12 million people by day. We import like 8 million people to New York City, and that's what makes New York City great. But it enrages me when we see traffic agents walking up and down the sidewalks of Manhattan looking to give tickets instead of taking care of the gridlock that makes everybody's life miserable. And we seldom know the name of the commissioner of traffic, but we all know the name of the mayor, okay? And he's the one that gets all the hits. Also, when are we going to implement the plan for traffic agents to have GPS for the street cleaners to know when the street cleaners go by, people can jump back to the other side of the street, repark their cars, instead of having to sit in their cars or leave their cars double parked for an hour and a half, and then when they do move it,
I got it.
traffic
Okay.
comes in and
Okay.
preys on them.
On the first part, so there's a huge congestion problem. It is a growing problem. Population went up. Construction up to now has been very strong. That means a lot of jobs. That's some very good things, but it's added to congestion. So we added, I think it was 234 more traffic agents. I don't know if anyone knows the handy statistic, but in the last budget, we added traffic agents to have more available personnel to actually direct traffic and resolve traffic jams, et cetera. That's what we want them to focus on. Again, we do not want revenue for revenue's sake. We want people focused on the mission, and the mission is to keep the traffic moving. On the question of the GPS and the sanitation and the alternate side, I don't remember if that got resolved. I know there was legislation suggesting that, but I don't think it got resolved. Catherine.
I'm the only one who didn't get a detailed answer. Think about that.
Thank you for your question. No, there was a bill. There was never legislation that was passed. There are quite a few issues with GPS and the camera idea legally in terms of having notice and having the ability to defend those tickets. The only thing that I will say is that we know that there are a lot of tickets given out for parking. I really would just love to have the curb space so that we can sweep. It makes a huge difference in the neighborhoods where people move their cars, that the broom goes by. And so that would be my one pitch. I live in the world of alternate side of the street parking. I do feel your pain. I may be the only sanitation commissioner in recent memory who moves her car back and forth. But you know, that was never resolved. The legislation never moved forward.
Okay, I'm taking 3 more quick questions. This lady, back here. Okay.
Yes.
This lady first.
Thank you very much for coming to the Bronx. I'm curious about the procedure. There has been an astronomical increase in the number of raccoons and skunks and other pests that are coming to an intersection where I've lived since 1964 with my family, south of Gun Hill and Boston Road. And I'm wondering, what is the procedure to get restaurateurs and residents to maintain their property such that these unsanitary conditions that create a health and safety risk can be addressed, because the number is ridiculous.
So let me see, between health, sanitation, parks, I think I'm going to broaden your question a little bit, and it's something that people are concerned about all over the city. If we don't want to exacerbate the raccoon problem, et cetera, what is our strategy? How do we make sure that we enforce if there are problems? How do we address the problems? You want to start?
We created a new division on our urban park rangers. While it's not enforcement, they can certainly do education. We're seeing wildlife across our city, whether it's raccoons, coyotes, and deers are repopulating because of our large parks, particularly here in the Bronx. Sarah Okwan will come out to your community and have a conversation about what strategies that you can do. In some cases, we catch them and release them in parks, but they find their way back to other communities. But certainly we'll come out to help some of the business owners about what they can do to at least prevent the proliferation in residential areas.
Yes.
Okay,
They're
so
all
stay
over.
there. Wait a minute. I want to pick that one up. On health department, what do we do about rabid animals?
That is, raccoons can be rabid, and when you have a rabid animal, that's including a raccoon or a skunk. These are animals that are acting weirdly. They can be aggressive, or the first thing you should do is not go near them, and you should call 311, and you'll get patched through to animal control. And we want to know about these raccoons. I'm happy to talk with you more about it. But from the point of view of the department, the the health risk of raccoons is that they can be rabid.
But let's just, in action terms, what do you do if you know there's a rabid animal in your neighborhood?
You should call 311. You'll be patched through to our animal care and control.
And then what
we will
happens?
send somebody out to capture that
Okay,
animal.
did you guys, I don't know if you knew
destroy
that.
it.
Did you do that?
So I'll follow with you,
Okay.
up with you, and
Good. Well, you
right.
guys, let's follow up directly with the health commissioner.
we test
Thank you.
them in the lab. So I'm
Thank
happy to
you.
talk with you.
Thank you. Bernadette?
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Mayor, for coming to the Bronx. My name is Bernadette Ferrara. I'm on Community Board 11. I'm also president of the Van Ness Neighborhood Alliance. And I'm a longtime resident of Van Ness, and I love my area. And one of the things I would love to put on your schedule or budget is to somehow, for the tweens and the teens, as of, I'm a result of being in Van Ness and never having a community center, never having a place to go, always being on the streets. I was one of the lucky ones. But there are many that are not. But for over 50, 60 years, Van Ness does not have a teen center. It doesn't have a community center. I would love to have, like the new facility that's going up in Edenwall, I'd love to have one in Van Ness and Morris Park. We have never had that for 60, 70 years. And we really need it, our families need it, and our children need it.
Okay.
So
Thank you for raising it. Look, having an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old myself, I can certainly relate to how important it is to give young people positive options, recreation options,
Yes.
et cetera. This is a hue and cry all over the city. And so the sort of a good news, bad news here. The good news is we get it, and we've been trying to do that where we can do it. The bad news is there's a massive amount of demand because you're right. It's just a whole lot of communities in the city that haven't had them, and it's a very, very fundamental, smart thing to do, but it's also a very costly thing to do. So we'll take your suggestion. We'll work with Jimmy to see if it's something we can do something with in the next budget. I can't guarantee it yet, but where you put it on our radar, we're going to follow up. But the other thing I do want to note that's here and now and available right now, we put a plan in place with the help of the state legislature that every middle school kid gets guaranteed after-school programs. And this is important because a lot of parents still don't know that. If you're 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, you now are literally, wherever you are in the city, you are guaranteed a seat in an after-school program for free. And that means like 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That's one, it's not enough, it doesn't answer everything you're raising, but it's something, and I'd love your help making sure the parents in your community know at least they can take advantage of that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank
And
you. Thank you. Wait a minute, I'm going around the room.
Yep.
Elementary school students have after school as well. I think the issue that
Not the
Bernadette-
same, I will be honest. I
Not the same.
appreciate the question. It's not universal. We're very proud, I just want to say, we're very proud that we went from cutbacks in after school to now making it universal for middle school. It is not universal for elementary school yet. We're trying to do more, but again, I always want to be straightforward to people. We do not have the resources yet to make it universal, but everywhere individually, school by school, we can add to it. We're trying to. But I can also tell you on the middle school, I know there are kids and families don't even know about it yet that they have that right for free. So I want people's help getting that word out.
As we head toward 10 o'clock, which is the time we're ending this meeting, I'd ask you to stick to questions so we can do as much as we can. The young lady there.
Mayor, my name is Kathy Prano. I've lived within the boundaries of the 4-5 my entire 74 years of life. Captain Rea was promoted to inspector, and every time in the past, as soon as they're promoted, they're transferred. You read all the information, how wonderful she's done. I don't want to lose her. She comes to our country club civic. She comes to our meetings. All of the the other lady said the 49th was best. I think every police officer, every fireman, every EMT are the greatest. It's a special calling. And I want to thank also Caroni Post and the general. My nephew was killed 11 years ago in Iraq, and we've dedicated the packages to the troops. We've sent over 6,000 packages to our troops.
Thank
so
you.
I think this is... This community is wonderful. We're rich in generosity and spirit, not always in money, so as you said with the taxes, but I want to keep her. I don't want her going anywhere. And
You know?
if we could get, the boundaries that Jimmy, said, we need more officers, we need more vehicles and equipment.
Let me tell you two things. First of all, with the city council, we made a decision to increase the number of police officers in the police department. We're very proud of this. First time since 2001, 15 years. So between the new officers and the officers who will be, because of civilianization, will go from a desk job to a patrol job, by the end of the year, we will have 2,000 more police officers on patrol in New York City. We're very proud of that fact. And every precinct will benefit. As for the inspectors, extraordinary talent. It's the same thing I would tell you about our incoming commissioner, Jimmy O'Neill. Talented people rise through the ranks. So I know you love her, and I know she's done a great job, but we don't want to stop talented people from rising up through the ranks, do we?
Thank you.
Well, when the time comes, we're going to get you a great person to show you that we've got a very deep bench at the NYPD.
Doctor.
Thank you. My name is Dave Stevens, a proud member of Community Board 11 and Morris Park Community Association for 30 years. There's been a lot of concerns about what DOT has been doing to the roadways in the Bronx. This wouldn't pertain exactly to East Tremont Avenue, but on the Pelham Parkway project, we have come to find out that road design is being set up at a 12-foot standard, which is beneath minimum FDNY requirements. I'm not talking about turning radiuses of fire trucks. I'm talking about tower ladder setups, which is having a deleterious effect on FDNY response time. I'd like you to look into FDNY, the Metrotech Center, why it's not standing up for public safety concerns. I don't think our roads should be designed where they're going to inhibit the outrigger setups for the tower ladder trucks. It's a very specific topic, a lot of details to it, but we were told that 12 feet was an AASHTO standard, and the Federal Highway Administration has clearly stated that AASHTO is not a standard for New York City roads.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Polly, can you speak to that?
Because when we do our roadway work, we work very closely with FDNY to make sure emergency vehicles can do the movements they need to move, and we get their sign off when
No,
we
I'm
do.
not talking about movements. I'm talking about specifically about setting up tower ladder trucks.
Right.
They have
Again,
6-foot outriggers.
we don't do a project unless they've signed off on it.
No, that's
so-
not true. The Pelham Parkway South was started without FDNY's sign off. The Metrotech Center needs more say in what's going on in DOT
All right,
road
well, look,
design. Very important.
I know you've had a long history on Pelham Parkway North.
Yes.
And I'm happy to
South.
happy
No, south. And
south,
unfortunately,
excuse
the
me.
north side is being designed the same way.
Okay, let me suggest
Please
this
look into it,
respectfully.
Mr.
I
Blasio.
will look. I have a lot of faith in our commissioner, who also used to be the Undersecretary of Transportation for the United States government. So I think she knows what she's talking about. But I will, out of an abundance of caution, ask Dan Nigro, our fire commissioner, and Polly Trottenberg, our DOT commissioner, to compare notes and make sure on the tower ladder question that everyone is coordinated. Thank you.
Michelle?
Happy to be here. Happy to have you here, Mayor. I'm Michelle Torioni from Pelham Bay Taxpayers, also a board member of Waterbury LaSalle. I'm a third-generation Pelham Bay resident. My mother lives in my great-grandfather's house that was built, still there. We're just concerned in Pelham Bay community with a lot of things. Just to mention, there is a homeless, I think, mother and son living under Pelham Bay Station. They've been there for like 9 months, so maybe if you guys can go over there and check that out. I know you said they are on patrol with that stuff.
And I did have an encampment removed this week on Bruckner and Bury Avenue through the Parks Department and police, so I want to thank them.
Yeah, I know. I think we've been saying about
We're
Pelham
there-
Bay
we're going
Station
this
for a
morning.
while. So I just want to make sure they go back there because I know they're doing construction in Pelham Bay Station, and they're underneath where the construction is happening.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to, Pelham Bay has a lot of concerns with your rezoning of the areas near, Pelham Bay Station is a big hub. We have the train, the number 6 line is the end there. You could get on buses there, go to Co-op City, go to Queens, you can go everywhere there. And we're concerned about your rezoning of that if it happens in that area because your rezoning plan is near transportation. And we're worried that your plan would not include for parking to be included into these builders' places. And of course, you know parking is a big issue everywhere you go, especially in Pelham Bay. All the residents are very concerned about that.
Okay, so I understand it's a very fair question. Let me say, one, you are keenly aware of the plan. I appreciate that. That yes, you're right. We're trying to make sure housing is developed near where transportation is. That being said, Pelham Bay is not. There's not a rezoning plan for it. It is not in the lineup right now. I can't speak for years from now, but there's no current vision for doing that. If we ever do a rezoning anywhere, there is a parking mandate. People can debate if it's enough or not, but there absolutely is a parking mandate as part of rezoning process. On the previous point, again, I want to make very, very clear. Whenever there is anything that, and there was for many, many years, these permanent villages of homeless people, we won't accept that. Now what we find is, like you say, a mother and child or a couple of people or whatever, we want to get those folks off the streets. And if there's a situation where the law allows us to just bring them in, we do that. If it's something where we don't have the right to make that decision, but we can work very consistently, convince them to take the mental health services or take the housing we have available, we will just keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back until we get them to agree. If, again, it's anything illegal, NYPD will intervene very, very quickly.
Yes, lady here.
Much. Thank you, Mayor and Jimmy. My name is Patricia A. Charles from Eastchester Gardens, and I'm an educator, but I'm also a community activist. But my main focus is on developers who come into our areas, and they put up buildings and different things that we don't really need in our community. Gun Hill Road, down at the bottom of Gun Hill Road, they have a big, I think, tennis court that's vacant. There's nothing happening there. Baseball, okay, whatever it is. It's a lot of space there that nothing is being done with. That can be developed into something that we can use in our community. We need a YMCA, swimming pool, different things. In that, it can be a school, so many different things. That's what kind of property?
Let's find out.
I think you're talking about the MTA bus property on Bartow and Gun Hill?
No. This is going, it's
The
across
driving range area? That's the old MTA property, the driving range, and then there was Bartow, and it goes up to Bartow Avenue. That is what you're talking about,
so.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Let's follow up. Let's do this. Let's follow up on the exact site.
I'm
Jimmy
sure
will
of
take
it,
the
and
lead.
there are plans I can talk to you about later.
Okay, let's see if there's something, because look, if there's any land that we can get our hands on for bigger community needs, we want to, but let's let him look into
something
it.
that we need, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dorothy,
Children need it.
Dorothy Poggi?
I wear a lot of hats, but tonight I just wanted to get into your mind that the animal shelter that you were nice enough to put the 10 million towards, we want you to consider watching out for that because it's going to come down to site selection and purchasing. If you can't, with all this affordable housing that you're putting up, which is wonderful, it's going to be hard for us to get a site for the animal shelter because all the properties are going to be going towards.
Look, I know why you say that, and I think it's a very fair concern. You should know, because this project is a high priority. It is a pledge I made, and I'm very, very committed to keeping. So Office of Management and Budget and other agencies absolutely believe they can find this space. It's different from the kind of space you might look for affordable housing, because you could do this in a commercial area or something like that. So at least, just so you know, I have not heard any reason to believe we're going to have trouble finding space.
Yeah, we put together a 50-page plan of sites, and we submitted it to different people. And,
Good.
We actually spoke with Corey Johnson recently,
Yep.
and we're just afraid that if you don't pay attention to it, it might end up that just Queens would come first.
No, it's going to be all 5 boroughs.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sandy?
And while we're waiting for the microphone, let me just say to anyone, we were talking about after school before, anyone in the room tonight If you know of a young person who needs after school, again, for the coming school year, every middle school child in New York City has a right to free after school. Also, any kids who are not yet signed up for pre-K for September, all that's being done tonight. So we have people can sign up or give you the information on how your friends or family members can sign up their kids.
Mr. Mayor, nice to meet you. My name is Sandy. This question is concerning a high school, Herbert H. Lehman High School, which is in our community. Some time ago, it was a gem and rated one of the best schools in the Bronx. Most recently, it has been put on one of the 13 most dangerous and violent schools of the city list, and the school recently has been getting several Ds and has been failing. I'm wondering, this has only been in the space of about 7 or 8 years. I'm wondering what kind of interventions are being done for schools such as this?
Thank you. We anticipated, all of us, this question, and I talked to the chancellor about Lehman, and I'm just pulling up my notes here so I can be accurate with you. It's on the radar, to say the least. We have invested in all this, so it's one of the renewal schools. That means they get extra teaching time, they get extra after school, they get, if it's needed, weekend instruction, they get a whole host of things. We give additional professional development for the teachers. So we're putting a lot of resources into Lehman to try to fix the problem. It was, as you say, a great school. We think, bluntly, some schools were left to degenerate and not given the help they need. We're trying to now give those schools the help they need, and we think in many cases that will turn them around. So that's the first part of the issue. In terms of the situation of safety, we've seen consistent improvement on safety in the schools. I'll try and be fair. A lot of that started under Mayor Bloomberg. We've been able to deepen it. The state came out with a report just a couple weeks ago, and they said there's only 4 schools left in all of New York City that they consider persistently dangerous. And to the best of my knowledge, Lehman is no longer on that list, which is a good thing. But we've put a lot of resources in. We will continue to. We're also going to add to the school career and technical education programs. We're going to add to the school advanced placement courses for college level courses that kids can take in high school. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing to try and lift it up.
How you guys doing? I'm Richard Rosario. I'm a local resident. We'll start with the question. Will the 45th precinct get their well-deserved new home? I heard they were going to get a new home in Mandy's space. I don't know what that's Mandy's office space. But I understand that their building is very old and they are well-deserved new building or new facility. I'm a local resident, and although the police officers
again, we're down to the wire. I'm just going to say we're down to the wire. We want to get to as many people as possible. Jimmy?
I think that there were suggestions over the course of many years for the Mandy site as we know it, but the 45th precinct never had plans to move there. The station house does need renovation. Now, we in the city council are working with the mayor because the 45th precinct is not the only station house that's in unacceptable condition. In fact, Commissioner Bratton, when I had him on the witness stand during a public safety hearing, which I'm on the public safety committee, he said that that was one of the greatest challenges that the police department faced, which namely was that we have to keep up with the capital needs of our police precincts because for years, those capital needs, infrastructure needs, were delayed. And when you delay capital projects, they become more expensive, and of course, they take longer to do.
So I just want to add, so the basic answer is there's not an immediate plan. I want to be straight up. There's not an immediate plan for replacement. Something we are doing in some of the most physically troubled precincts. There's also some areas that need additional coverage, as was true in Southeast Queens, where very, very big precincts that needed to be made smaller. But what we are trying to do is do much more cleanup of the precincts because we want our officers to be in a more positive environment. So we're putting money into just physically improving that which is until the day comes when we can do a whole new building.
Okay, I'm going to end it here because I want to make a closing statement. And I want to say to you, Mr. Mayor, that when you said to me you were spending some time in my council district, I never thought you would spend 3 hours here tonight. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank all your commissioners that I work with every day. They're fantastic. You've always been responsive. And Mr. Mayor, your time.
And they'll be here all night.
And they will be here all night again.
All night.
So this is your chance, by the way. You've had a mayor here for 3 hours, and his commissioners will be staying here indefinitely, I think I can say.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Villa
everyone.
Barone.